What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Flicking with Skip. This is your host and guide for this evening, Skip, as we work on some of the animation cells for Cox in Space. Joined here with Logan Gifford, which is awesome because it's been a while, but
Hello,
watched this last
everybody.
week. Welcome, Logan. We're here to talk about Quentin Tarantino again because he
Once
has
again,
he has so much filmography. We have to get through all of it. And it's worthwhile, I believe, because Tarantino is a quality director and film writer. Couple qualms that we should take care of and talk about, but beyond that, especially as he's gotten older, in my opinion, he's become a very masterful director and is telling stories that transcend his style and a lot of styles.
yeah.
Tonight we're going to be talking about Inglourious Basterds, a war movie, Django Unchained, a black Western cowboy movie.
I mean,
The
what a period piece I think by
Yeah, well,
Tarantino
and then we're going to get into that
in
too,
that
especially in his
particular
later
film.
career. The
Yeah,
Hateful Eight, which is a thriller, a Western thriller with a cast of criminals, which is of course celebrity cast, and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is a love story, written in the most interesting way. Only Tarantino can do it, but it's amazing. It's the best romantic comedy I've ever seen. So we're gonna get to all of that in this episode. It's gonna probably be a long one, but it's worthwhile because again, I believe that Tarantino is a worthwhile director and worth looking to, which I wouldn't have thought, Logan, if it wasn't for you insisting that I go check out Quentin Tarantino and we sit down and talk about all of his
definitely.
movies.
I remember and see, and that kind of wraps back around to I think a conversation we had in the first episode, which is
Yep.
when we met. Like you asked me, like what are some of your favorite movies? And I was like, hey, no, I named a couple of Tarantino films, I believe. Pulp Fiction, Django Unchained. And you were like, oh, Tarantino, and you kind of like shrugged it off, and you're like, he's an auteur, he's pretentious, blah blah blah. And I was like, man, I don't think you.
Yeah, so of course, I was in a dark period in my life at that point,
Of course, of
so
course.
that was
We can
probably my
speak for
response
when
to
we met,
everything.
but let's be
Um,
honest with
and
ourselves.
then also, you have to understand that I was older than you, so I had only seen up to Kill Bill, because my life had gone on when Django Unchained and The Hateful Eight had come out, but you're of age that you could go see those movies, as they were coming out, so you got to see them, closer to when they were there. So I didn't have any of that as perspective, but as we've gone and looked at it, as I've gone and looked at all of his movies, and I watched everything that he's done and analyzed them a lot, it's definitely I put my applaud that Tarantino. Um, with one qualm, because I still say this about Pulp Fiction, because I went back and rewatched this week.
Nice.
So Pulp Fiction is a brilliant piece of writing, and you were right.
Absolutely.
It's the story of the watch,
Yes.
right?
The
So
watch, like that scene with the watch, the first watch through, and I'm sorry to go back to Pulp Fiction, but everyone's first viewing, they're like, why is Bruce Willis's story even there?
right.
And I'm like, it's because he goes back for the watch and he kills
See,
John Travolta.
and here's the thing. This is my qualm with Pulp Fiction. It's a brilliant story. It's great writing. It's really fun and interesting to see how all the characters interrelate, just like you said. And it's the story of the watch. But I feel like an editor convinced Tarantino, or his studio convinced him to edit it in an artsy sort of way so that it would have more panache or something or be more intriguing. And he did that. Um, but once you said those things from last week and I watched the movie, I was like, you're absolutely right. What he's done is he's cut the movie so that it focuses on the bodyguard and says that the two bodyguards, the thugs, Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson,
Yes.
it's their story because we see them first, we see them last, and it seems to center around them, but
Yeah. It's the story of these
it's
guys.
actually Bruce Willis's story. And I think it would be more interesting to tell the story that way, so much so that I'm going to re-edit the movie, and we'll watch it at some point.
Oh,
The
man.
way that I think that would focus on the
The
Bruce
skip.
Willis story, that's going to give us the backstory of the two thugs, which is still going to be really interesting and fun and cool. And then we can see
Yeah,
the
the
Mia
Skip Marozzi
story,
cut of Pulp
because you know
Fiction
what I
is something that I'm
realized about the
excited to
Mia
see.
story too is that the reason that he doesn't call Samuel L. Jackson is because Samuel L. Jackson has had a wake up moment with God.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't have a backup at that point either. That's why he has to call his drug dealer. So like
Right.
what we're actually going to see is the subplot to Pulp Fiction, which the re-edit is of course called The Hard Truth, because it's the exact opposite title. Um, sorry, it cracked me up when I thought about it, and then
I apologize.
I wanted to share
I
that
think I
with you
missed the
too.
humor in that one. I
Uh,
apologize.
it's not actually that it is the hard truth. I'm not trying to say that this is the end all be all of the cuts of the film, but I think that like where it opens with the story of like I got this from your dad in a concentration camp or a prisoner of war camp, right?
Yeah.
And he I wanted to make sure that got to you, and then it ends with the watch being significant, and him going back to go get the watch, and we got that from the setup, and that's when we know that Jules has been like they've been split up. I forget which one is which.
Right. Yeah. Jules is Sam Jackson's character, and
Okay,
seeing, like I said, because Jules isn't in that scene where John Travolta gets shot,
right. And
you
again,
already
what?
know that he's had that awakening. He's not with John Travolta's character. Jules has already gone at that point,
Right,
and
yeah.
that's
See, and
why
I think that
John Travolta's character dies alone.
yeah, it's really really cool and important to see that, and I think that we're robbed of that story by not knowing that at that point. Um,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can walk away from that movie and not know, like, because Jules has had the awakening because the miracle has happened and he's seen God in the box or whatever it is. Um, and then he's like, okay, that's it, I'm done. Then he's left his boy out to die, basically. And
Mhm.
so and so I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Well, he like strands him with the boss's wife, and the boss's wife is only out on a date with him because he's stuck in the place overnight. No, I'm sorry, that's a different scenario. Also, the way that the Marcellus Wallace story pays off is really a much better story because then you know that he's actually been looking for him, and there's been this tension, and then he sees him, and then that all happens. And so the final moments are him getting forgiven, basically, because he knows the truth about him, and then him like
Right.
riding the bike and getting his girlfriend, and the movie ends with Zed's dead, baby. Zed's
Dead's
dead,
dead, baby.
which
Dead's
I'm
dead.
pretty
Yeah.
sure is Tarantino's actual ending. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what he wanted before he was talked into this one. Like, I don't think he wanted to edit Pulp Fiction the way that it's edited.
Yeah.
It's
But
speculation. I don't know. Somebody can correct me in the comments if they want to. And you should
one
if
thing I
somebody
will
knows
say is that
knows the facts.
the Zed's dead ending is one of the better endings to a Tarantino film. I feel like, for me, and I feel like
100%. And
I might
looking
be
at his
biased
work
just
too, I
because
feel
I
like it's
like
really
how.
appropriate. I'm so sorry. I talked all
Right.
over you.
Well, no, I'm sorry, and I was just gonna say, like, it's because I like how Pulp Fiction. I like how the story played out. I like the fact that you have to pay attention to it and you have to understand. He tells these different stories in compartments. So it's like you have to understand and look and read into how all these characters relate to each other.
Yes, 100%. And I agree that it is an interesting aspect of the film, and probably one of the reasons is it's become more of a cult classic than it's actually like a
Mm-hmm.
more well loved classic. Um,
Yeah.
I think, and again, so I think that whether the decision was made by Tarantino or is made by an editor, the person who made the decision was trying to make the decision to make the movie more interesting by editing it differently, which I feel like is just young Tarantino doubting himself. Because if you remember all the things that happened before, he had made Reservoir Dogs, and all he was able to do was sell his movies, but he wasn't able to make his own movies. And Pulp Fiction was him coming out and making a movie. So
Right.
so I think he was like, and so he wanted to like make sure it stood out, or whoever was talking to him about it wanted to make sure that it had like this unique thing. And I think that's where the editing comes from. But again, I think that is what makes it not palatable to a lot of people, and I think it would have hit in a much different way, but like on a more like mainstream audience. So I don't think it would have been the counterculture like movie. I think it would have been more like a Fight Club,
Right.
Again,
I also feel like,
speculation
and
on that part.
this is just coming from me, not as a quote unquote filmmaker, quote unquote producer,
Uh,
director, or anything like that.
you're a
But just as an
fan of
appreciator of the
Tarantino.
artwork,
Was that?
I do feel like if he presented the story in a more chronological order,
Hmm.
it probably would have hit the mainstream audience a lot better than it did at the time.
I believe so. That's my opinion, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Actually, maybe when I do the edit, we'll actually find out that there's a good reason why he doesn't. Like you're like, oh yeah, this movie sucks, and he's like,
Right, right,
what do I do? What can I do to make it? What can I do to make it hit? And then we'll be like, yeah, that actually makes sense. But I've never seen The Hard Truth before, so I will. I have to wait till that time where I have the ability to do that
right.
instead of the thing that I have been doing this week, which is re-editing the Terrifier review into 3 separate episodes, um, and taking
Mm.
out all the swear words and whatnot. So look for that,
Square word.
the swear words, and trying to make it like not so violent it can't be monetized.
Ah,
So
yeah, the swear
yeah,
words meaning like the censored words.
yeah. Actually, we had a whole conversation last night that wasn't about the topic that it seemed to be about. Anyway, that's a digression. We have a lot to get through.
We do have a
I want to
lot
do
to get
this.
through
So
in
we've
Tarantino's
covered
later
Pulp Fiction. I
discography.
feel like it's settled
For,
that it could be a good movie. It could be one of his best movies in a different form. A lot of people disagree with me already because most people agree that it is his best movie, and it's ranked second to this movie. Actually, this movie is tied with another movie, but this is one of them, Inglourious Basterds, which is a film that I know that you love.
oh man,
Like it's one of what you've seen a bunch of times, right?
and I mean, what a film by Quentin Tarantino. I mean, number one, what a period piece. Number two, what a fun piece of alternative history.
Yeah,
What I was gonna say is, like I said,
Inglourious
once
Basterds,
again, what a period
revisionist
piece by
history.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah. Well, first of all,
A
yeah,
great
let's talk about
story.
the fact that he's got into period pieces. Like
Yeah,
he's always
that's
kind of had a
been some of my favorite works of Tarantino have been his period
yeah,
pieces and the things that he's done as like revisionist history and things like that. Like Inglourious Basterds. What a great piece of fun fictional revisionist history where, the Americans actually succeed and we fucking kill him.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
it's
right.
all at the hands of this crazy Appalachian son of a bitch, from the mountains. And just, I mean, also Christoph,
Wait,
I could go on a 10-minute tangent about how great Christoph Waltz is in this movie. This
oh
is the
yeah,
first time I'd ever seen Christoph Waltz, and he speaks 4 languages in this movie. It's amazing. Like, and it's just, it was wonderful. I'm so glad that he got an award for this movie because he deserved it.
yeah, absolutely. He is fantastic. I'm glad that he and Tarantino have been teaming up. Because it's really cool what he does in this movie and what he does in Django Unchained.
Yes,
For a
very
film,
excited to see
and
him come
we'll
back in
talk
Django.
about we'll talk about the two. And I thought that that was really interesting. Um, isn't the guy from the Appalachians? Isn't it Brad Pitt who does the who
Yes,
saves the day
Brad
at
Pitt.
the in
y-
Glorious Bastards? Which is
Yes, so
funny because
Brad
in
Pitt
the
plays Lieutenant Aldo Rain.
and he's hard to understand, right? Hardly intelligible. Um,
No, Aldo Rain is relatively like he's got an accent, but by no means is he like really like washed out and like super hard to understand. Like like a la Channing Tatum when he was trying to do the Kunas accent in the new Deadpool movie. Don't get me started on that, Brent, because I'm like,
fair.
dude, you could have got a better fucking vocal coach. You could have got somebody better. You could have hired a motherfucker like me, and I could have
Right?
taught you how to do it. But you know what?
Somebody. Well, so but it's also that's he ties that it's the same thing when he does the revisionist history in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Um,
Right.
so he actually uses the same actor to do the same thing. That's funny.
Right.
Because there are cues throughout the entire that movie that kind of like point out that it's gonna be revisionist. And that's why I've been like really like hesitant to see some of his movies since Inglourious Basterds. Because the first time I saw it, I was really on the fence as to how I felt about him using art that way. Not to like because it seems true, right? But it's actually what's the fake news? Is like you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's
Like
like it's inflationary and it's a little silly. It's
yeah. So
if you were
if
to
you're
just read the script, it would almost read like an Onion article, I think. But the fact that Tarantino was so artful about how he directed it and how he casted it, and like I said, just quit. Like by this point in his career, Tarantino, like I said, has become an auteur. He's very particular about how he
I would
represents certain
argue
things.
he always has been for sure because I mean his fingerprints are all over all of his movies. You can tell even in
Mhm.
the way that he writes them that they're him.
I
Um,
feel like Bastards is one that where you can definitely tell like it's a Tarantino film, but
yeah, yeah.
it's kind of like you said about the Hateful Eight, where like it's clearly a Tarantino film,
Wait,
but
hang
it's
on.
written in a different
I
way, where it's like it's not like this, like what we're used to as far as like these crazy violent samurai stories, or it's definitely it's got a different tone to it for sure.
uh, sorry. The point actually I had made about the Hateful Eight, and we'll get to it more, is that it doesn't feel like a Tarantino movie. It's super
Right.
surprising as to the degree of like how it's a unique story and it marries a bunch of styles, and then also like it's unto itself, right? Like that's, I think good art should stand alone because it's like, anyway, he's achieved that. So he's even like he's succeeded his own reputation with that movie. We'll talk about it more because there's definitely some more things I want to say about that. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
he is. I mean, he definitely is like an auteur because he takes full control of his work and makes it happen. And then, but like
Right.
the only thing I was worried about is how slippery that is. Because if you're watching a bunch of war movies from the late 2000s and you see something that looks like a war movie, but then it says that was killed. And you know what's funny about this YouTube video is we're gonna have to edit the word, even though it's about Inglourious Basterds, but it's about him getting
Yeah, we
killed.
will
And
have
in no
to
way glorifying the man
we,
at
we have
all.
to refer to him as and then
Yeah,
probably bleep it out too.
I'm not
Refer to
gonna
him as
do
the
that. We'll
Führer and
just
probably just bleep out Führer as
yeah.
well.
This one's going to Patreon. There'll be an edited version up on YouTube. That's what's going to happen because I already know that that's what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
I'll put out the one on Patreon. You guys will get that one early if you're on the Patreon.
If you
And
are an
then
official crew member
yeah, if you
of the
become a crew member,
podcast,
you can get this
we should
episode.
say.
Yeah.
You're
If
not just a
not,
member when you join our Patreon, guys. You become a crew member.
yeah. So we were wrapping up with the Inglorious Bastards. Uh,
You are.
Basically, it is a fantastic movie. The revisionist history was the part that threw me because it was the first time Tarantino had done that in any of his films. And then
Yep.
as it shows up more, I was beginning to think about it and how um, really all of film, even like based on a true story, is fictionalized.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
definitely sensationalized for the sake of the viewer, for sure.
yeah, and so I think that's the statement that he's making with this revisionist history. Not that we can make history whatever we want it to be, but more that filmmaking is all fake anyway. So why not make the world that you want it to be? And one of them is that he would like to kill, which is I had misjudged Tarantino. And we'll talk about that more. Do you have more comments as we get into Django Unchained? Do you have more comments about the Hateful Eight? Adam Sandler is
Well,
obviously a surprising cameo.
and the Hateful Eight, yeah.
No, no,
One
I'm
thing I'll
sorry.
say about
Did I say the Hateful Eight? I meant Inglourious Basterds, of course.
yeah, the one thing that I'll say about Inglourious Basterds is that the way that it stylistically changes throughout the movie is fun as well.
Okay,
Um,
I
he
hadn't
starts
noticed
off
that.
he starts off telling a very chapter based normal story,
Like he
but
does.
then you get to the introduction of Hugo Stiglitz, and it goes very much back to like that 70s style, like this character's a badass and this is why you should like him, and it's playing cool music while he's like stuffing his fist down a Nazi's throat.
Fair. Okay,
Like it's
gotcha. Fair.
yeah, so like it's definitely like
As you
a
should.
pretty cool
That's the
stylistic
stance
break
of this podcast
that
and the content
happens
of this
with the
podcast.
introduction of Hugo Stiglitz.
Hmm.
That is very like you said, very much like the fingerprint of Tarantino on Inglourious Basterds. Like that is the moment where Tarantino kind of like went off. I think it was like,
I
I'm just
know
gonna do what I
exactly
want
which
here.
style change you're talking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, yeah, of course. And it's like dun 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 dun.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then that's the only part that Sam Jackson narrates. And, and you actually get this introduction for who Hugo Stiglitz is as a person, and that's the only soldier that you actually get an introduction for. That's why I say that there's a pretty big stylistic change just in that one scene. where
Right.
Hugo
But
Stiglitz is introduced. Like that's where Tarantino gets to go back and poke at Pulp Fiction and poke at Pulp. I'm sorry, not Pulp Fiction again, but Kill Bill and things like that. And he gets to poke at that and be like, "Yeah, you remember that? Doesn't that
yeah,
look the
well,
same?"
he loves that
You
style.
know?
I mean, he loves that era. It's
Right. And
I
it's
mean,
and I
Once
mean
Upon a
it's great.
Time in Hollywood is him being like, "Oh, guys, did you know how much I love '70s films and the era of the '70s?" Like he's like, "Do you know how much?" And we're like, "Yeah, Tarantino, I think we do, but thank you for telling us again."
Right.
I
But I
mean,
mean, and it's awesome because, like you said too, it's like it's kind of like he writes love letters to that, um, um, to that era of film. And
well, that
one of the things
yeah,
I don't think
and
we
that
talked
movie
about,
specifically, but he does. I mean, like you look at even the Grindhouse films. I mean, look at the style that he's emulating there too.
right?
Um,
And see, and that was another thing that I don't think we touched on
we did.
super hard, but I
No,
remember we
we kind of
talked about
scooted
it.
past those movies because I don't think
Right.
they're good representations of Tarantino as a director. I think he's just kind of messing around. And he's just like enjoying his success from Kill Bill and just, like doing projects,
Yeah.
like passion projects. But not like really putting his like heart into it at all. Um,
Right.
that's just a guess, a lot opinion, but like they don't shine the same way. It's more like he's like, yeah, I'll put up some money so we can make some fun movies.
Yeah, like that was just kind of like a team project with Robert Rodriguez, where he was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
you know what I
I'm
mean?
gonna
He's
make
like,
this
it
movie with
sounds fun.
Robert."
Let's do it. Um,
Yeah.
so there's nothing bad about those movies, but like there's definitely greater ones. Do you have any final thoughts on Inglourious Basterds before we move on?
I mean, just to say, like I said, once again, in my personal opinion, one of
Mhm.
Tarantino's best. And
Wow.
I
Okay.
love the fact that it ends with. I love the fact that it ends with Brad Pitt saying, "You know what, Udovich? This might just be my masterpiece." That was a great, great way to end that film. But
Because he's an ear collector, right, or something?
right. Well, he collects scalps,
Scalp
and
collector. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
yeah, and then every time that they find a Nazi and they let him go, they carve a swastika into their forehead. So at the very end of the
Right.
movie,
So you
he
can't
does
get
it to
away with
Hans.
it.
He does it to Hans Landa,
And it's the
and
trunk
then he
shot, right? Like that's the classic Tarantino, like looking up from a
yes,
helpless, like from a trunk. He does
yes,
it in a lot of movies, and so yeah, it's also epic where Tarantino's being like, yeah, I'm still here. This is the choice that I made. Um, make sure
just
no Nazis get away with their crimes.
right. I mean, also, I mean, nothing else to say, but just great way to end an iconic film, in my personal opinion. Love that one.
I do have to recognize that I haven't seen it since a long time ago, where I still kind of biased to Tarantino. I did enjoy it, and I think it's worth a rewatch. If only because the recognition from what he's done with the rest of his career.
Yeah, and plus,
Here,
too, go back and rewatch Christoph Waltz in
I
that
mean, just for
movie.
Christoph Waltz, of course, like
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
it's a fantastic
If
opening
that
scene.
movie is not worth a rewatch for anything else, it's Christoph Waltz and oh, that blonde lady, the blonde German lady. She had a hell of a role as well.
Um, yeah, I think it was that it was a war movie, and war movies are always a drag to me. But also should have recognized that it's not a war movie because Tarantino is never making the style that it looks like it is. You know, he's making a movie that he's gonna enjoy. Um, since I'm
Which
a
also
bigger
brings us,
fan. What's that?
which brings us to our next film in the list,
Yeah,
which is a
Django
cult
Unchained.
favorite. I would assume among Tarantino fans.
Okay, and
Um,
this is tied with Inglourious Basterds. They both have an 8.5, which means they're ranking right behind Pulp Fiction with an 8.8. So to say that these movies are like significantly different from each other as far as like fan base is just saying that you haven't pulled the right people. Between
right,
between 5 and 8, you know what I'm saying? Like that, a point 5 and a point 8. I mean, they're ranked really, really close.
right.
And with good measure, I believe that this movie and Inglourious Basterds will probably outrank Pulp Fiction eventually, because there's okay. So this is the thing about Django Unchained. This is why I didn't watch it, because in Pulp Fiction, Tarantino, like I said pre-show, cast himself as the guy who says the N word with the hard R.
Yeah,
And so
he kind of,
what?
he kind of cast himself as a pretty racist character, which kind of
Yeah. And
denies
so,
his credibility a little bit to make films like Django Unchained and
right.
Hateful Eight and things
So
like that.
yeah, when I see that he's making a movie about a black cowboy called Django Unchained, I'm like, okay, he's going to be dealing with race issues as far as he sees it, which is fine. But he's the one who cast himself as that person, and so I was like, I don't know if he's going to be able to handle that. So if you've ever thought that like I did, just discount that thought because he is making he understands what he's talking about as far as race relations go, and then he's making it really cool to talk about and have this conversation. So either he's posturing really well and is secretly a racist, but there's some things about this movie, like okay, like most of his movies, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. But the one of the things about it is
It is
he
an epic of a film.
so it starts with Christoph Waltz freeing Django from slavery and being casual about it, but still ending up killing the guys and having the slaves that he frees kill the guys who were just enslaving them. And it's because he needs Django to hunt down these guys because he's a bounty hunter, which is the flip from the previous movie, right? The Hateful, I'm sorry, geez, why do I think those movies are the same movie? The Inglourious Basterds. So right, bounty hunter for the German side was a good thing, was a bad thing because he was looking for people that are good. But then bounty hunter now in Django Unchained is a good thing because he's the one who's letting those people go. So
Right, like you said, so Christoph Waltz's character development, and I feel like that's another thing that's understated as far as his work with Tarantino is his range. So I mean,
well,
yes, and of course in both of them he plays a naturally speaking German. Like that's kind of unavoidable if the guy speaks German. But
also, oh, yeah,
the
I mean,
fact that there's a dichotomy, like you said, in that where it's like in the first game, in the first movie, or
yeah,
in Inglorious Bastards rather, he plays this very clean cut SS officer who is known as the Jew Hunter.
all right.
And then in
We'll
this
probably
next
can't
one,
actually say that
he's
word.
a very
Okay.
and then in Django, he's a very laid back former dentist turned bounty hunter
Yeah, that's right. The
who
former dentist,
conscripts
of course, can't
who
deal with
conscripts a
diversity.
young slave to help him find a bounty.
And conscripts is probably too harsh of a word. He's like, hey, you have information I need, and your freedom is going to be on it, plus the money from the kill. So it's not like he like twists his arm or anything
To
like
deal
that.
with them, yeah,
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 and
you're right.
then
Conscript is a bit too hard of a word.
which
You're right.
because it's just during the time of slavery, like at that time, unfortunately, and this is what I like about this movie is that Tarantino goes over a lot that people are property, and especially with on Candyland and DiCaprio's home, he points out many times, what I own, I can do what I want with. And
Right.
so I was afraid that I didn't know that going into like that was what the plot was, but I was afraid that if Tarantino was going to deal with that, he was going to deal with it on the side, of course, the landowner, which I
See,
apologize to
and
Tarantino, but then seeing how he was doing it and showing how it was so ugly, I was like, that's
right.
brilliant. Like if you're going to show
See,
off
and
race, if you're going to do a movie about racism, show how bad it got so that people know because it's not even, I mean, you can be like, oh, DiCaprio is like a made up character. There is no Candyland. But like that's people were allowed to do
there were
that. But
people like Calvin
so
Candy.
yeah, this movie is based off a movie called Mandingo, and actually they Tarantino references Mandingos in the Judy, sorry, what's the Jackie Brown movie,
Yeah.
where he's talking about a thug that will work for the guy who does the bail for the bail bondsman. Um, and so it's a real thing, that they had slaves fight each other to the death. So the funny thing about this movie is that he doesn't revise history because he wants us to look at it. We know in the first movie he revised history, and it makes sense because he makes it make sense. He turns history into something that you're like, yeah, if everything was done right, we would have killed Hitler early.
Right.
Um, you
Exactly.
know, so and like
And
and
I
now
mean, and even some things went wrong in that plan, and they still killed Hitler.
right, you know what I mean? So like it's just um like so I see why he's doing that. He doesn't do this in Django Unchained. He like actually like makes you like look at racism and how bad racism can be. Like the
Right, how
introduction
brutal it
to
was, and he brings up certain themes about like some of the awful things they do to slaves. Like the hot box,
yeah,
castration.
yeah,
Making them walk from place to place.
yeah, all the
Like that
time. You
was
see that
real
natural.
things that would
That's what they're doing.
happen.
All the white
Slaves
people are on
getting ripped
horses. They've never seen a
Yeah,
black
like
person
slaves
ride a
getting
horse
ripped apart by
before.
dogs. That's real.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. And the first when we're introduced to DiCaprio while there's a fight going on behind him. Um,
hmm
and it's just like, so like they really go for it. Um, and I think that it's a cool way to explore the themes of racism is to show that. And I think Tarantino's ability to do grit, how he he goes gruesome, it's like violence. He's actually now using that for a good reason. It's in Django Unchained. He uses violence and gore the way that you should be using it, because you should like we see. I'm going to skip to the very end of the movie, where Jamie Foxx Django is hanging upside down by his ankles, naked,
yeah, and,
right,
and
and we're looking
and
up
like I
his
said, that was
butthole. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
that was like the
And
theme of like castration in the
yeah,
movie
he's
and
going to
stuff,
get
like
himself
how horrible it
castrated.
was to be a slave.
And then here's the thing that's more interesting about that scene is it just casually dealt with like, oh, you know what? We just changed our mind. We're not gonna like destroy you and mutilate you forever. We're gonna do something worse. So it's just
Yeah, we're
like,
gonna send you to the LaQuint Dickey Mining Company,
yeah,
and when you
like
go to the Dickey
like
Mining
even the
Company,
torture is just so like casual and just like, yeah, it's just one of those things you do. We just put her in the box. But there'd be nothing wrong with putting her in the box, of course. And you see it like a picture of the box, the shot from the house is it's so common for them to go to the box that there's a trail from the porch to the box. You can see there's
right?
one from the house and there's one to the box. So that Samuel L. Jackson's character like throws characters in there, like throws slaves in there a lot. That's what he's doing.
Right.
That's part of his job.
And that's part of what makes him evil. And that's one of the
Yeah.
interesting things. That's one of the interesting things about the way that scene builds up is that when they finally get to Candyland and they meet Sam Jackson's character, like King Schultz, and that's Christoph Waltz's character. King Schultz instills in Django like you have to play a role. And there's a scene where they talk about the role that he has to play, and he's like, you have to be a black slaver.
Oh yeah, because it's the most
And
despicable of
and
people.
right, and they make a point to say and have in the dialogue, a black slaver is lower than the head houseman.
Right,
You know,
right.
and it's like
And
that's
then we meet Samuel L. Jackson, who is that guy, who is that
right.
actual
Who is
character.
just like that filthy, despicable character.
And I want to
And
spoil
I
this.
would say that Sam Jackson played that role like a motherfucker,
Oh
boy.
man,
He really did.
and here's why. Because he's a character who is playing a character. Just like Jamie Foxx is a character who's playing a character.
hmm
And you see it break a couple of times when they meet in the um, library, which there's a fantastic shot of it. If you want me to pull it up real quick. Um,
I think one of my favorite ones is like, and this is one of the common points where they finally see like the character of Samuel L. Jackson kind of break, and he becomes who he really is. Is after Calvin's funeral when they come back and they're singing the song and everything,
okay,
and
yeah, well, this is the
Django's
final one.
upstairs.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Django's upstairs and he pops everybody, and then your boy Sam Jackson. I don't remember his name, unfortunately, in the movie, but he throws down
It's
his cane.
Calvin.
Calvin. No,
Yeah,
it's not Calvin.
no, it's Steven.
Steven. That's what it is. So Steven throws down his cane. And that's
Mhm.
when you finally see that illusion break. He stops limping because no
Yeah.
one else is around to see, the act that he's been putting on in order to be working in the house. You know what I
Um,
mean? Like
well,
he's
so
what that says to me as far as like the way that character develops is like he's been putting this act on the whole time to be the head house, like
right.
to be the head of the house. One of them I like is when he confronts John Brittle and he walks up to him, he's like, John Brittle. And then it's like that slow pan up of Jamie Foxx's like whole blue get up that he chooses himself.
The reason I want to show you these shots is because the shot you're talking about is fantastic, and I've already like uploaded it so that you can see some of the really fantastic shots. The one that I wanted to point out to you is when the facade falls for the first time, which is when they're in the library, like the sanctuary of Candyland. Um,
Yeah.
and this facade is off because before we'd seen Samuel L. Jackson as this like decrepit old man leaning on a cane, and now we see him sipping cognac in a chair across DiCaprio as an equal by the fire. It's where we're finding out about like Candy, that he's not an intelligent man. Like some of it, like
Right.
the black people around him, he relies on to give him information because he doesn't notice a lot of the things that happen.
Right. And that's hinted at Tarantino's genius writing. That's hinted at in some of the first, times that they confront Calvin Candy. When they say, "Oh, he prefers Monsieur Candy."
Oh yeah,
And then
but don't
and
speak
then
French
and then
to him.
and then King Schultz says, like like in French, like I can speak French if he prefers. And then his lawyer is like, "Oh no, don't speak French in front of him. It'll offend him because
Because
he doesn't speak
he
French."
doesn't speak French. Yeah.
So like I said, he likes to come off as this really smart, philanthropist and cool guy, but ultimately he ends up giving it up at the end of the movie where he's like, growing up the son of a plantation owner. So you kind of realize he's been inept his entire life.
Right. Yeah.
This
Exactly.
is what
He's
he's
been
grown
waited on.
into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are
He's
you
been
able to see
waited
this?
on like that his entire life. So like you said, it makes sense that he uses Steven to make his decisions because Tarantino reveals that in his character.
Yeah, exactly. And then I also want to point out the reason I support Tarantino using racism in the way that he's doing in this movie is because he makes his black characters so intelligent, equally intelligent to all of his white
Yes.
characters. So you can see that in his mind, as far as his writing is concerned, again, I don't know about his personal beliefs, but as far as his writing is concerned, he's like, these are people, is the statement he keeps making throughout Django, which is
See, and
why
that was another beautiful thing that you see throughout Django is that when King Schultz finds him, he doesn't know how to read, and he makes him learn to read using the like the bounty hunter bill.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
For
exactly.
and then at the very end, that's how he swindles the Australian dudes who come and pick him up.
For
He
the mind,
swindles them
yeah.
by reciting and showing that he not only read it but comprehended what he read. It shows that he learned.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's just this very subtle thing where it's like, he shows that these people are human and they're capable and that they're smarter than you are probably.
Dude, there's a great bit of dialogue that I'm hoping to get. I have it written down because it's so funny. Um, the so this is an example of what you're talking about. So they went and killed the brothers. That there's the first bounty, which I definitely thought was going to be the whole movie and not just like a setup for the first act. But hell yes, because then it gets them bounty hunting together. And
I'm
making
positive
money.
he did.
Yeah, but like so Django kills two of them, and then the other one like runs and he's doing the shot, and so he's like, do you know it's Sam? The dentist goes, and he's like, I'm sure of it. The dentist goes, are you positive?
Are you positive?
And he's like, I'm not
And he's
sure.
like,
He's like, you're not sure?
Are you sure?
He's like, what does positive mean? It means you're sure. He goes, oh yeah, I'm positive.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sure. And then he goes, yeah, I'm sure that he goes, yeah, then I'm positive that that's Ellis Brittle. And then I wanted to say too, it does that same, like you said, Tarantino's fingerprint, where
Right.
it shows the blood spatter over the pure white cotton.
It totally did, and we saw it in Kill Bill. Thank you for calling it out again. Yeah, 100%.
Very like I said, very much Tarantino fingerprint, just the blood over the pure white. Very much a Tarantino shot.
Yeah.
Really good. It fit in context.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just beautiful stuff.
Did we shout out, because we shouted out that it was a period piece in Inglourious Basterds, but of course also Django Unchained is a period piece. It's a very fantastic period piece.
One of his best.
I mean, Hateful Eight is comparable to it because he's doing the same thing to its full extent. So it's hard to say. He's just done it well in both of them. Is all my comment is.
Right. he's shown that he can also do a Western style and do it well.
Well,
And
yeah, exactly. Like
that's one of the things that I felt compelled him to make Hateful Eight. I think is just the success of how Django was received. And I mean, like I said, the racial commentary that he made in Django, like he could have been crazy and like an asshole and a bigot about it, but he actually showed the grittiness and like what it was to be a slave.
Yeah,
You know,
again,
like
I'm a big fan of
like
that. As I mean, it's hard to watch. Like, I will warn you guys, if you're like, I'm gonna go watch
it's
Django.
graphic.
There's a dude
Yeah,
who gets torn apart by dogs.
yeah,
Um,
it's graphic.
yeah.
You know,
So
like
like if you're
there's
like,
a
hey,
couple
I can't
slaves
watch
get
that.
branded.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
there's
getting the branding.
whippings
Yeah,
and
yeah.
shit. You
Woman
know, like
tortured in a
there's
hot pot.
yeah,
Yeah. Um,
yeah, but you know, but like I said, they show like Quentin Tarantino was one of the first directors that I've ever seen who hasn't shied away from how awful American slavery was.
well, see, again, this is what I'm
You
saying is
know,
like, this is why this is when like that brutality image that he does, like the brutal gore and brutal violence. Like
right?
I think it's being put to good use now because it's actually, he's using it to show what it looks like realistically.
Right.
No, not shitting on Steven Spielberg because Spielberg is a great director. And also the Schindler's List is brutal. It does the work and it is a
Yeah.
drudge to watch because it is so quality. But I think a
Schindler's
lot
List
of his times
3D.
he kind of shies away from it still. Sorry.
I was just making a joke that I in reference to something I said you a while ago. Is like Schindler's List 3D.
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly. I guess
Schindler's
it's
List
black and
3D
white.
for the Super Famicom.
And anyway, um, so yeah, I want to shout out DiCaprio, of course, in Django, especially when we get to see him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
I mean,
because
man, what
he's
an
just
actor!
a totally different person. I mean, I remember seeing him in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, um, which is he's really young and he's
Great
also
performance,
very
but still,
talented in that movie.
yeah, great
Yeah.
performance. Because I mean,
So,
like everybody wants to look at Johnny Depp in that movie and like, oh yeah, look at young Johnny Depp.
well,
Fuck that, look at
okay,
young
not
Leo.
discounting his performance, but yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, definitely take a gander at young Leo next time you watch What's
And
Eating Gilbert Grape.
well, and then you can just say that about any role. I mean, like Wolf of Wall Street is definitely a different character than say his Dalton character in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and different than in his character of the guy in Candyland. First of all, he's doing an accent, actually doing an accent. And then he's acting through that accent in ways that are just, I mean, this is the movie where
I
he
will
cuts his
say
pants
also,
while
as
he's
a
acting so hard and then bleeds during the scene.
yeah, I will say also as a very light Scorsese fan, and having seen a couple of Scorsese films, Wolf of Wall Street was up there with one of the best because it does like Scorsese does his best because I feel like in a lot of Scorsese films there's not a lot of likable characters. You know, like look at
Sure.
Goodfellas.
And we should definitely do a Scorsese dive at some point.
Oh
But
God, yeah, let's go.
right,
Yeah, this is
that
gonna
was
be the next series.
I don't
Yeah,
know. That's a lot of films to get through. He's prolific for a long period of time. So shout out to Scorsese that he's done good work, and DiCaprio has also done good work with
oh yeah,
Scorsese's material.
absolutely. For
And that's
yeah,
really the thing
Wolf of Wall
about
Street.
in his attachment to
Wolf of Wall
Tarantino.
Street was a travesty for DiCaprio to not have won an award in, but
I'm sure
yeah,
there
that's all I got to
there
say
are
about that.
reasons. Um, One of the things about Django is the fact that Googans, I think his first name's Walter Googans, um,
David.
seems
Oh no,
super
not yeah, yeah,
comfortable.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. No, Walter Goggins.
Goggins, okay, it seems real comfortable saying the hard R.
Yeah,
The same thing in Hateful Eight. And this is the only
yeah.
time I'll mention it because I won't bring it up again in that one. But like, yeah, I'm just like, ooh, buddy, like, are you like here as a plant? They're like, yeah, listen, Tarantino, we'll let you make a movie, make it fun of the KKK, but you got to cast Walter. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. Again, this is
Walton,
speculation
I
and
think is his name.
allegedly in
Walton.
Minecraft, but
Walton Goggins.
is that Walton Goggins? Um,
I believe that his name is
so
Walton Goggins.
I will say that like I had worse feelings about him. I thought that like, for that. And he is that way also in Hateful Eight, but his performance in Hateful Eight does make me respect him as an actor. So um
Yeah,
it's
Hateful Eight
possible that
was
he's
great for
cooler. Maybe it's actually
Hateful Eight was
Christoph Waltz
fantastic
who's a
from
real
almost
big.
every actor involved.
What's that?
I said Hateful Eight was fantastic for almost every actor involved.
Yeah, I mean that's let's get. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but yeah, like I mean, really, that's I rank it as one of the highest rated thrillers I've ever seen. A classic
And
thriller.
I'm glad I talked you into watching that one.
Yeah, no, for real. We would have missed that in the review if we had done this all as one go. Um,
Right.
so one of the cool things about Django Unchained is where the very middle of the movie is. Now, and not everyone's in agreement with me about this, but I believe that the very center of the film is generally where you should be seeing what the movie is about,
Mhm.
and what it's all added up to, so that everywhere after that, if a movie is balanced, it like declines into it. Um, and the very center of the movie, where the timestamp is, right in the middle, is where they have the whispered conference in the middle of the procession over the back of the horse. Um,
Yeah.
and he's talking about you're going to blow this, and he's like, no, I'm actually intriguing the guy, which turns out to be the saving grace at the end. Like I think that the reason that Candy doesn't just shoot him when they're all at the table and he finds out he's been tricked, because he's got respect for the guy who played the role.
Right. Because like there's already shades of that. Whereas like he respects Django as much
Yeah,
as he is, as much as Calvin Candy believes that Django is lower than him, he addresses him as that one N in 10,000. You know what I'm saying? He's like,
yeah,
like you are the one. Like you're an intelligent guy. Like he acknowledges Django as almost better than him, you can say, because like I said, he calls him intelligent and willing and things like that when he describes this one in 10,000. And then he repeats that back to Steven when he shoots him too, which
yeah.
is cool.
Yeah, he's like, listen, he may have been all crazy with the phrenology, because that's absolute nonsense. I hope people
That
would.
was a crazy part. That was a crazy
It
part
was
of the
definitely that. I
movie.
was like, oh, this is Tarantino being Tarantino, but he's actually, instead of having just a random scene that comes out of nowhere, he's making the characters do it. And I'm like, ooh, that's
Right.
way more
See, and it
interesting. Like, dude,
and
Quentin,
it
you
makes
should have been
sense
doing
the
that.
way he used it, because that's actually how people like that from the time thought.
100%.
That was science at the time,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that was what they believed as
Using
fact.
science to be racist. Yeah, and so he like ties that
Yes.
in because that's what people are doing now too. And so I was
Yeah.
like Quentin, like, and so again, this is I'm gonna restate it because this is why I think that he's using art for the right reason. Is he's gotten into a position of power, people watch his movies, and so he's making statements like, guys, you're like racism is stupid. Like, do you realize how
Yeah.
dumb you look? And so like I'm like that's a cool reason to make a movie. And then it's also badass,
Yeah.
of course, because it's about a black cowboy. And it's sort of irrelevant that he's black. He's just an awesome dude.
I'm
Like you
saying,
can
like, even if he was white, if he was a bounty hunter that was going out and taking out slavers, it would still be cool.
you see that's
But
what
the
I'm
fact
saying.
that but the fact that he was black that made him cooler.
Um,
Like that made the whole movie make that much more of a difference. Like Tarantino could have wrote that
100%.
as a white guy, because the original world from Django or Mandingo was Mexican, and we actually meet him in the bar scene shortly after we meet Calvin Candy. Did you know that?
I did not know that. That's where he like takes
So
over a bar in the town and shoots the
yes,
sheriff.
so there's a Spanish gentleman that's there watching the initial Mandingo fight with Django and King Schultz.
Oh, that
And
introduction.
and
Okay, I
he
got you.
goes, yeah, and then the Mexican guy goes and orders a shot after Django orders one, and he sits there and he says, "What is your name?"
He says,
And
spell
Django
it.
says, "My name is Django."
Yeah.
DG, or like he spells it, and then he says the D is silent. And the
He's like,
Mexican
I
guy
know.
says, "I know."
I
And the Mexican guy who
wondered what
says,
that
"I
interaction was.
know,"
Right.
played Django in the original Mandingo movie, I believe.
Well, there's two
Yeah,
of them.
something
There's
like that.
actually
Like,
there's a movie called Django, which has been it was such a popular one that a lot of people have done Django spin-offs and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
and then there was a movie called Mandango that came out that was about this
I believe it
concept.
was probably one of the Django spinoffs, then most likely.
I don't know. It definitely feels like a case of Tarantino. I'm doing it, and I didn't really see that in relation to each other. It's a possibility. I just didn't necessarily see that. Um, and the interesting thing that I wanted to point out about the slave that gets torn apart by dogs, though, is this idea that Candy's been fighting slaves, and so he has slaves in particular that he has for fighting, and
War fight.
the one that's been treed because he ran away, doesn't want to fight anymore. Um,
Yeah.
but Candy's proposition to him is that no, you don't have to fight anymore. You don't have to win anymore. You just have to fight, which means that since
Right.
it's a fight to the death, that he will go in there and lose and get mutilated.
Right. So it's like get mutilated by a person or get mutilated by dogs. You know, it's like
And
the
then yeah,
ultimate choice that
and
he's
then in the
given,
end,
and you have to kind of really look at it to see that. Yeah, but it's like that's yeah.
but
Exactly. You're
that's
exactly right. Like that's the ultimatum that he gives him, where he's like, you know, like I paid for you for 5 fights. I expect 5 fights out of you.
yeah, exactly.
No
And
matter
he
whether
doesn't
you
care if he
win,
wins or loses. Yeah,
yeah, you just have to go out there and fight.
it's just it's so brutal again, and he's like basically it runs the idea of racism all the way to its nth. Like if people can own people, this is what they can do with them. And then you find
Right.
out, of course,
And
that Django.
it's a true part of what happened as part of
Yeah,
slavery. You know, like
yeah.
and like I said, like that's why I respect Tarantino as the auteur that he
Yeah, he's
is
definitely.
because he really shined a light on that a lot of people don't learn about in history class or anything like that. You know, like this was a real thing that you can. It's a real thing. Mandingo
Well,
fighting was real
yeah, you gotta uh recognize
to an
that. Yeah,
extent. I mean,
In Louisiana, people didn't learn about it because they were a part of that, and so there's some people who don't
right.
want to do that. I don't know if it's in more schools, but yeah, no, especially yeah, the brutality of slavery,
Mhm.
that is not a thing that has gone into in depth. Well, I mean, there's a lot of movies about it, but again, just to
And we
he went
actually
to the,
talked about
as
this
far as it can go. Was that?
we actually talked about this in a previous podcast with Margot Arustagi. If you want to go
Yeah,
check that one out.
yeah, you should. We can put it up. It's called Keep Tiger Town Beautiful. Um, so yeah, so again, this is what, like I don't think that all art has to be a political statement necessarily, but the fact that
Right.
Tarantino is using his ability to look at and question things in order to start the conversation for people is in an action movie is great because the body count is really high at the end of the movie too. So of course, if you're going for a
Oh yeah.
Tarantino movie, you will not be disappointed because of the politics. If you're like, oh man, that makes me feel uncomfortable, shoot at the end, motherfucker, with people who come and keep coming and don't stop coming, and guns just keep going off and going off. Uh, Ultimately, the place gets burned down. But there's a few scenes in between those
Also,
two things. Thanks.
I do want to say that there's a couple of really good real life quotables from that movie.
Okay.
Notably from the beginning of the movie and right around the middle. So in that first scene, you see King Schultz shoot a man and his horse.
Okay. Yeah.
And the guy who's, you know, playing the role has a very real reaction. Because King Schultz goes, I didn't mean to pull a bullet, I didn't mean to put a bullet in your beast. I didn't want to do anything rash before you had a chance to come to your senses.
Yeah. So he shoots
And
the
the guy
guy's
goes,
brother, and then he
the
shoots
guy,
the man in.
right, and the guy's like got a broken leg underneath a dead horse, and he's like, "You shoot, let's go." And then he looks at his brother, and he's like, "And he killed us." You know, it's like that's a good one. And then there's another one that happens around the middle of the movie. Like you said, you know, like when they're having the conversation over horseback.
Right.
It happens around the middle of the movie. And it's when Django goes and pulls the guy off his horse and just fucks
Oh,
his shit up.
that's right, because the dude is like talking him down to him as if he's a slave. And Django has
Right.
to prove, of
So
course, that he's not going to put up with that.
Django goes and just yanks him off his horse,
Yanks him
puts
off
his
his
horse on
horse.
his side and everything. And Leonardo DiCaprio's like, somebody help, somebody help Mr. Wilson on his horse. And then like the guy screams from the ground. he broke my collarbone. I'm like, that's a very realistic thing that would probably happen.
Right. Also, yeah, who thought you
Just
could pull
like
over
this,
a man on a
just
horse,
like,
but then you see that you can't.
well, no, it's like that probably would just break your fucking.
Exactly,
If
bro.
you if you just went straight down on the side of a horse like that, you'd probably break your collarbone. So it's like the guy just said, like, just like in such a loathsome tone, like he broke my collarbone, and he's like, I don't give a damn. Sorry, Mr. Wilson on top of his damn horse. Also, let's make this an ad break right fast.
Yeah, if you want to, you can
guys,
go to coxinspace.com.
Yeah, coxinspace.com. There's multiple tiers of membership. I believe Skipper's been updating those as we go. But like I said, I'm as far as I know, there's still tiers of membership that allow you certain access to things like the podcast. You can even come on here and come talk to us if you're a creative type. If you're an interesting person with an interesting story to tell, we'd love to hear about you.
Yeah, 100%. And that's all through coxinspace.com, coxinspace.com. You can get connected to our Facebook up there. That'll get you connected to Aaron Cosville. And you can just talk to him about what you want to talk about. We're done if you are, like Logan said, interesting. You can also get access to our Discord, which gets you onto the shows so that you can interact with our guests through the chat, and then also hang out with them before and afterwards. Yeah, exciting stuff, right? So
very exciting stuff. Come interact with us, guys.
and
It's a
shows
rare
like this.
it's a rare opportunity afforded by not many creators of any animated shows. Is that you get to actually interact with the people who are creating the thing that you like. So, like, by all means, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. Let us know, man. We're here. We're human people, and we enjoy the feedback. We enjoy constructive criticism. Don't be an asshole in the comments, but come and tell us what we might need to work on.
I don't know about Logan, but I'll shield him from all the harsh comments. You can say whatever you feel like you need to say.
I mean,
because Logan is sensitive, and I will have to. I'll be the one who has to console him when he cries. So
yeah,
just know that when you are mean to Logan, but we haven't even called out the coolest thing that's happening right now. Is that we have a new show happening on Sundays, where we play They Die at the End.
Show happening on Sundays. He is sure right. This is a new development, guys, that we've had over this past weekend. As we record, we're going to be playing a little tabletop RPG on Sunday nights, guys. It's free for anybody to come and join. I believe the session should probably be limited, though, Skipper, to maybe like five or eight people who are actually actively playing the game.
You can do a bunch of them, but yeah, if that's an issue, we'll make some exceptions. No, y'all come out. It's gonna be 6 o'clock. It's early, essential, of course. And then come be a part of They Die at the End. It's a game where you play the voices in the main character's head, who try to take control and run their own objectives while using their special powers to do that. You get to decide all of that yourself. And then I put you in a scenario. You try to get to your objectives before the character dies, which happens pretty frequently. So it's fun. It's a fun. If you've never RP'd, if you on tabletop or anything like that, it's really easy. It's a super
super fun way to get into tabletop like group games. Like if you've ever thought about playing D&D or something, or definitely give this a run first, because it'll give you some experience with, not only rolling a D20 and dealing with a quote unquote dungeon master or game master, but it'll give you an idea of what it's like to play a game with a community, which it's fun. If you get the right group of guys or right group of guys and girls together to play this game, man, as long as you have a bunch of creative minds who are just like to have fun, this game is going to be a hoot. And I really hope that we can get you, a lot of you guys in here this coming Sunday for the inaugural They Die at the End podcast.
Yeah, and they and we're gonna keep playing because it's just a bunch of games. It's collective group storytelling. It's fun to do together. And then once you get the hang of it, anybody can play anywhere at any time.
Yeah, it's great.
So and it is fun for all that.
Do you want to mention one more scene in Django Unchained that was almost completely unnecessary but hilarious? Is the bag scene.
Oh yeah, okay. This is actually where the whole kickoff for Django Unchained started. Is that I was like,
I
first
see.
I was worried that he was racist, and it's almost as if he wanted to prove that he wasn't. That he shows like the birth of the KKK, and they're a bunch of dumbasses led by Jonah Hill. Um,
Yeah. Did anybody bring an extra bag? Nobody bought an extra bag.
hey, my wife
I
worked
was
real
just
hard on those
asking.
bags.
Yeah. Is that about to say by the end of it? It's like, my spends all day gathering extra ungrateful sons of bitches, and all I hear is criticize, and he whips the bag off his head. And he's like, from now on, me and mine for nothing. And then he rides off,
Right.
and then like the scene just continues while he's just like riding off into the distance. It's just you could like such good comedy writing, honestly,
It's
by Tarantino. Like
it's
it's
so
just
out of the blue,
really,
but it
really
also
good
supported
comedic relief scene there, where it's just like you see that like like you said, like the origins of the Klan and like people just running up masked.
it
It's
absolute
just led by a bunch of fucking inept idiots.
dumbasses. Yeah. Um, the I'm sorry. Yeah, and then the dumbasses. Then they're just riding around in circles and they can't even see anything. They're running into each other and shooting at random. Um, yeah. So,
Another
but
really good part of that
no, I'm
scene was
sorry.
just
This sorry. Yeah.
I'll beat his Zane, and then he shoots the tooth that's full of dynamite, and then just annihilates all the Klansmen.
Just takes him out. Yeah, so this was the supposition last week was that all Tarantino movies are actually comedies. He just doesn't always let you know that they're comedies. Um, so, and
They kind of are
I
because I
think that
always find myself laughing at least one part of them.
right. I mean, and like, and in all of his movies, there's just like he's taking himself seriously so that he can pull off one joke or like one scene that's really funny, and that is one of them. He just like it's one of the most ridiculous, so silly. Um, gotta love that.
There's a couple of humorous moments in Django where it's like where, where like he's facing Steven at like where like he's at the top of the stairs and Steven's like I count 6 shots and then Django pulls out another gun. He's like I count 2 guns, Nick. And he's like yeah,
Right?
it's like
Yeah, exactly. You're like, bro, that I mean, that's well played, well played. Um,
right, it's just great. Like he outsmarts him in every way, and it's just such a great fucking. Just I mean, I feel like Tarantino did a lot of justice to the story of what I mean, he came up with a story, I guess, that was inspired by the things, and he did a lot of justice to it for the modern era, I would
yeah,
say.
I was saying this about the Terrifier series also, is that I think it's totally fine to like, one of the things that's going on right now with yeah, intellectual property is that people want to bank on intellectual property that is safe. But I think what Tarantino is doing, where he's taking a bunch of things that he knows works and then making new things out of it, is a totally great way to go about doing that. Because you can be like, everyone loves Westerns. There's a big people love. There's a big black community who will watch films who want to see an action movie about a black hero. I think I mentioned to you that I think he's doing everything that Black Panther wants to do, because it's
Right.
actually giving them a hero that you can root for. And I say
Yeah.
them because I'm a white person. If you guys didn't hear from my voice, but I think that inclusion in film is really important for young black kids to be like, you know what, we're not all bad guys or pimps and drug dealers. Actually, Django, motherfucker, like I want to be a cool cowboy who wants to fall in love and save the day. And I think
Yeah.
that like that is important.
Django.
Representation rather is the word I was looking for, not inclusion. But you
See, and
understand.
then once again, this is of course, coming from a white person, but I would say that Django is one of the better black heroes to come out of the 2010s.
And that's what I'm saying. Like they want to do the thing that Black Panther is trying to do, is actually like
Yeah.
give the black community a hero, which is cool because what I was worried about and the roots that Tarantino comes from means that he you would think that he would lean towards black exploitation as they do for the time, but this is actually a
Right.
reverse black exploitation film where it's a movie for black people so that they have a hero that they could root for. And yeah, I mean, That's awesome. You're gonna, of course, have huge support, and he also makes it that it's not cheesy or pandering. Like it's like you're like, yeah, Django's awesome. I think anyone of
Yeah,
any race can root for Django.
absolutely. Yeah, Django was a almost the ultimate protagonist. I would say that one of the best protagonists I would say that Tarantino had ever wrote.
Homie, I'll
Almost,
have to give you that. I didn't really think about that, but I mean, I have to give you that as actual fact. I would agree with that. Like, it might be Tarantino's
he's
best
a
character. Uh,
Django's a really good protagonist, and he accomplished his mission. The movie ended happily,
yep,
and
yep. Uh,
that might be Tarantino's best protagonist that he's ever wrote.
yeah, if you guys want to argue about that in the comments below, we can. But I would think I would have, I mean, I have some good thoughts to back that up as well. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think that, yeah, he has done some fantastic work. I'm not downplaying any of his other roles, characters, or movies, but on that fantastic heap is the character of Django, and the story, of course, that like introduces us to who he is. I would watch a franchise of Django. I would watch,
I
like
would be
Indiana
like, I
Jones, the
would not be
series.
mad if there was a Django 2.
Yeah, well,
I
if
would watch
if Jamie Foxx ended up doing his career that was nothing but Django for the rest of the career, I would watch every single one of them. And
absolutely, yeah,
yeah, I would be down. They might be
yeah,
cheesy. They might go off the rails in some of the installments, but it would be really fun. It would just be like, a John Wick.
yeah.
The like I love that they have a love story. I think it's cheesy. But also I think that it is good. To have that, right? Like it's just that he's a well-rounded character. And that he does, I
This
mean, obviously he's going to the ends of the earth, but he calls her things that like don't necessarily make sense. They're anachronistic, is what I'm getting at. Um,
this brings us also to the casting of the female lead in that movie.
let's talk about that. Yeah, I'm down.
I
What are your thoughts?
I don't agree with it. I feel like
Right? Yeah,
she was very much too like baby bird, like I'm fragile, and
right.
like you've been through all this shit, and like
That was
you
my thought.
haven't developed a lick of strength or confidence.
Yeah, let's talk about how
It's
she's the concubine, like she's the one who relieves all the mandingos of their sexual tension. Um,
right. That was
like
the thing too that was implied in the movie, and
what
that's pretty fucked up.
implied, but also stated. We didn't see it,
Right? Yeah.
but Candy mentions it. Like he's like, oh yeah, like I was just gonna send her back over there or something. Um, so no big deal. Like Django's about to shoot him over this comment. Yeah. So
Right.
same. He has cast some really fantastic black females, black women. Um, and
I just
I'm
personally,
really
I don't.
surprised that casting, because especially in the scene where they're negotiating over her, right? He
Right.
like Leo is acting so hard he doesn't realize he's cut himself, and then also you have
That was, yeah, a
go ahead.
crazy fun fact to learn about that movie is that
Yeah,
when he slammed his hand on that table, he actually cut himself on some glass.
yeah, which he takes out later
So
in the
the
scene
the
itself
blood,
while the scene's
yeah,
going
the
on.
blood that he rubs across Kerry Hilson's face is real.
Yeah,
That's
um,
his blood,
that's
and
his
that's a
blood.
genuine reaction from Kerry Hilson to be like, "What the?"
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's warm
yeah,
and it smells. I think she's trying to act, because that whole scene is her trying to act. Um, and
yeah.
I
Me
wish it was better.
personally,
But like, look, you have Christoph Waltz, you have Jamie Foxx, you have Leonardo DiCaprio, you have Samuel L. Jackson in that room. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think Kerry
Tarant,
Hilson was the right
yeah,
pick.
Tarantino did not cast a woman who is up to, and maybe she has the prettiest feet, QT, but like
Yeah.
that, yeah. But it just didn't hold up, unfortunately. So
Yeah,
yeah, that is my
Kerry
only
Hilson
thing that
is
I have to
the
say about Django
only.
Unchained, is that she's a little bit, I mean, in most scenes she's fine, like you're just like, okay, she's doing the demure thing, which you
Right,
would
yeah,
kind of
she's like the
expect.
beautiful black woman that we're, like that we, as perspectives of the hero are trying to aspire, to get back to. Like I understand, yes, she is a beautiful black woman, but to act that part
Right. You
and
need
to
somebody who's
listen to her try and speak German was fucking
uh,
rough.
okay. Also, yeah, she doesn't actually speak German.
Right. You know, it's like we could have got somebody a little better for that, you think, Quentin? You know,
um,
maybe.
maybe who knows why that casting choice was made.
Yeah, Carrie
Uh,
Hilson is Carrie Hilson in that movie, and you know that is what it is. I'm
and
just, you know,
that
if she
doesn't,
would have
yeah,
had
that
a
doesn't.
more, if she would have had a more centralized role in that movie where she spoke more,
Mm,
hot take, it probably would have made it a worse movie.
yeah, no, 100%. She
Yeah,
definitely has the look. And I don't really, I mean, maybe she does like modern day dramas really good, but she looks like she's a modern day actress. Um,
right.
and so like again, like Samuel L. Jackson he looks like an old butler. You know what I mean? Like Leonardo
Yeah,
DiCaprio has a believable accent and his that mustache, right? The hair, like he's like fully in character.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, Leo's character in that movie was, I mean, to die for. I mean, that's the type of acting you want if you write a production. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, absolutely.
And I mean,
Again,
I'm not gonna lie, Skip.
we're gonna shout him out
That's
again. Yeah,
that's the kind of energy I try to go into. You know, because like you guys write this, and you guys want actors to put their balls in it, and that's why I try my best to put my balls in it every time that we do
that's
a read through or anything.
yeah,
You know, it's like,
100%.
yeah.
Um, and actually, speaking of, we're gonna get to do a read through. So, a new episode
Oh,
coming.
let's go another read through episode 3, baby.
Yeah, it's coming up. But yeah, that's exactly the type of thing you want. Like and that's why Leo always delivers. Is because he understands what's happening in the scenes and what the characters
Yeah,
need to do. And
he
so,
understands.
and then he
He
goes for
understands the context of
it.
what he's involved in as an actor, I
Yeah.
think. And that's the beautiful part about DiCaprio's acting. It's a shame that honestly for me, I mean, you know, let's put aside whatever, you know, the fact that he likes to date younger chicks, and let's just, you know, separate the art from the artist here.
Right. Okay.
And
I mean,
let's just appreciate the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio is a pretty fucking good actor, guys. You know? I mean,
we're not
yeah,
really. I mean, like, so also he's dating women. He's not dating children. Um, it is odd that
ladies,
he can't seem to like move past a certain stage in his life with that.
yeah.
But you know, like
Ladies,
that's
but
I don't.
frequently very young ladies. Like it's like he's in his 50s and like they're in their like 20s.
Well, that's what I'm saying is
You
that
know,
they are adults. Again, it is a little weird for any adult to be going after someone who's a lot younger than them because it does show like
yeah.
sort of the mentality is
Because
not
I mean, like
they haven't moved past a
Leo,
certain phase in their life. But
L-
um,
Leo, what do you have in common with this 27-year-old LA influencer?
well, that's not really the thing about dating younger women is commonality. You're not trying to have
No,
conversation.
I know, and I was just trying to kind of
Is the thing.
lean
Um,
into the inquisitiveness of
well,
like, why are you doing this,
I don't know
Leo?
if he's like, well, I can have any attractive woman that I want, and I like to have attractive women and have sex with them. So I do. So there's no big mystery, and that's why I'm like, yeah. So he's an adult man
Right? Yeah,
who,
it's like it's yeah,
who enjoys running around and doesn't want to commit and so that's his life. That's I guess I mean he can do that. Um, again, I'm
Leo,
gonna
we
just
love you. By the way,
reiterate
don't sue us.
he's not dating children. So like just being like people shaming him for that, let's just brush off like other serious things that like where that age gap falls below the age of consent.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
I
why I
was
think
gonna
it's
come back
problematic.
again.
Like I don't care about Leo's thing, but I think it's problematic to like the continued joke about it. Uh, if it were like
Yeah.
a Diddy situation, or like what we found out about like a number of other people, Weinstein's, where he's like actually involved with minors, then that's something that we should be continuing to talk about. But this one I think
Right.
just like muddies the water. Anyway, this is
But
not interesting as far as Tarantino is concerned, or is it foreshadowing to further development?
one of the things I will say is please don't sue us, Leo. We don't have lawyers.
Oh, I
You
mean,
know,
I'm not saying I'm not,
Leo, if you
we're
ever
not
get
making any
this,
jokes about Leo. Actually, I came on the other side is that, geez, guys, that joke was funny, but you know, 15 years ago, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be interesting to see what he does with his life as he continues to age, like we all do. Um,
Right.
it's really funny that we were talking about that because as I've been scrolling through my notes, I came down to the my only real critique of this movie is what you said that Hildy as a character is really really interesting, but as an actress is she just is not living up to that role. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
Carrie Hilson might have been a shitty cast for that act, but then again, it's like at that time, who do you cast? You know?
well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it, there are a lot of talented. I just because I can't name them doesn't mean that they don't exist. There will be a lot of people. There's actually a stand-up comedian that I was thinking of. She does this set. I've mentioned her before on one of these podcasts about how she's a witch and she's like bisexual. And she's like she's just like a powerful black woman. And a lot of her the reason she is those things is because it gives her the power to choose in some ways. You know what I mean? Like it empowers her to
Yeah.
to be like this, yeah, take control. And I'm like, that's awesome. And I think that she would be an awesome casting choice. I think that the woman from Discovery, who's the captain in Discovery, um,
Hmm.
who her on the show, her name's Bo Burnham or Burnham, but
Bo Burnham, ladies and gentlemen, the white male Bo Burnham.
yeah, no, yeah, no, Burnham is her last name, but I can't. I just, of course, said the wrong first name. But yeah, she would have been a good choice because she has a very good range and understands how characters move. I don't know if she was not able to do it because of contract with Star Trek. Also, she wasn't really discovered at that time. Come to think of it, because of how old this movie is. Um, so anyway, but yeah, there are black actresses, and just like there's so many people trying to get cast. He had choices, and he chose that. Um,
Yeah.
so
That might be one of the only questionable casting choices that I would say Tarantino has had throughout his career was
uh, yeah, I mean it's the only one I can think of that I feel is actually really miscast. Like it's really off the
yeah,
mark. So yeah,
right.
I could give you that for sure. Yeah.
That was the one that I felt was really out of place in that movie, and they probably could have picked almost anybody else. But anyway, that brings us to our next one.
Hang on, let me just see one more second. Y- because we haven't talked about the one moment. Again, I wish I had the ability to pull this up for you. Um, the one moment where spoilers, Candy gets shot. Um,
Yeah,
and the
I mean, and
absolute
a great moment too.
what's that?
A great moment
Oh, great
too.
moment. Yeah, like so.
Um,
Yeah, let's talk about the moment leading up to it, right? Because it comes down to Christoph Waltz. I'm sorry, Leonardo DiCaprio's character demanding a handshake from Christoph Waltz on the fact that he's just gotten money from him at gunpoint, in order
yeah,
to get this woman, right? So
it's
the
the rule in
situation,
Chickasaw County. You have to shake a man's hand if the
yeah, yeah.
deal is done.
And he's doing it because he knows that the man detests him and he's making him shake his hand anyway. And
Right.
he's like throwing his power around on his own ranch. And so he like, on his plantation, he's not going to be disrespected by this man, so he's making him do it. And so Christoph
Right.
Waltz walks up to him and he's doing it because he thinks he's disarmed. So he walks up to him and shoots him with a hidden gun that we knew that he had from a previous scene where he shot the sheriff, and it comes out of his sleeve, and you're like, yes, fantastic callback, and then also that's a way to shoot the motherfucker, because what a bastard, somebody had to do it. Christoph Waltz says, I couldn't help myself, which I think is a fantastic line.
Yes.
Where he's
Yeah. He
like,
says sorry. He
sorry,
says he looks at Django and he says sorry, but I couldn't resist.
I couldn't
And then
resist,
immediately gets blasted
and
by
then just,
two barrels of a shotgun.
yeah, thrown into the bookcase.
Yeah.
Fantastic shot. But this is and so you know which one I'm talking about. It all leads up to this. It cuts to extreme close of Samuel L. Jackson as that character, giving the most tragic wail you have ever heard in your entire life. The man's heart is breaking.
He says, "No."
Yeah, and it just goes on, and like it's just so. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson has been celebrated as a fantastic actor for a really long time. He's
Hmm.
been around. He's celebrated and accredited. He always delivers a character on the screen.
I mean,
You,
man,
you you like him. He's
he's
cool.
tired of those fucking snakes on those fucking planes.
Yeah, you know what I mean. He's become a parody of
I'm sorry.
himself. And so some
I did just
people,
have to. I did have to include snakes on a plane
for
just to.
sure. Well, I mean, so yeah, well, because people can miss the fact that Samuel L. Jackson is a really good actor, and this movie lets him do that. It was the movie that
Yeah,
I was like, I
absolutely.
bet he's really glad that a long time ago he met up with Tarantino and kept doing movies with them. Um,
Yeah,
because the performance that he does lets you know, like it's just like just on top of everything else he's done in his career. Um, that he can do the thing that's required. Like he's not just an action star. He's not just a joke. He's not just the black dude. Like there's pain in his eyes. I wish I could pull up the picture for you. I'm actually going to do it just for the audience that who's watching the thing. But I have a photo of it. There's pain in his eyes. And he's is like it's the worst thing that's ever happened to him. Is he's losing this man who's been protecting him. Um,
yeah.
and so like I just Jackson, I think Samuel L. Jackson is respected as an actor, but some people might say he's no Morgan Freeman because he doesn't seem to have that same level of class that Morgan Freeman does.
This
But I
man
think,
has been in Star Wars movies.
yeah, well, but it's
He
not
got
just
his. He got a specific lightsaber color from George Lucas because he requested it.
right. But
Like
there's some
Sam Jackson is the reason that the purple lightsaber exists.
right, sure, but there's something to be said about people who are popular actors aren't necessarily good actors. And that's the distinction I was trying to point out is that he's done things that you might assume that Samuel L. Jackson is just a popular actor and not a good actor, like Star Wars and getting a purple lightsaber, right? Where you're like, okay, he's got this mystique that he can do that sort of thing. But people would argue they're like, it's totally against the canon, for him to do that. So I can't believe that he would. He's just a popular actor throwing his weight around, that sort of idea. But you watch his performance because it's very layered and very nuanced. Like I was saying, he's playing a character which is kind of like a jester character on top of his real
Mhm.
character, which is the skinny Mandingo like wrangler, and then also the guy who like takes care of the plantation and runs all the money and everything like that. And then once you see this shot of Candy getting shot, and the mourning in his eyes, it's just like it's a real person that Samuel L. Jackson's playing. It's not just a performance that he's
Right,
doing these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane. You know what I mean? So I
right.
wanted to
It's
make sure
it's
that we
if you
didn't
actually see, it's
get
like
out
in
this
that
movie.
shot, you don't see Sam Jackson. You see Steven
Yeah,
mourning the death of the person
yeah.
who's commanded him his entire life.
Thank you for like that pointing out the man who hated him and said that he was worthless. You see that he is actually he was very much committed to this person. Um,
Right.
And so, yeah, it's a fantastic
And this
performance.
is
I didn't want to leave this movie without recognizing Samuel L. Jackson's performance on top of Leonardo DiCaprio's, which again, fantastic. But like Samuel L. Jackson is, yeah, I don't want us to miss him. Yeah, because yeah, he's
and I mean
consistently good.
also, I mean the obvious, we can't shirk away from is Jamie Foxx. And I actually heard in multiple interviews that Jamie Foxx actually refused the script the first time it made its rounds to him
Was that
because he didn't feel like I think he said he didn't feel like he it was something like he didn't feel like he was much of a symbol or something like that. I
hmm,
didn't and don't quote me, I could be wrong, but
okay?
from what I remember, he sent it around to like his buddies and it made his way back to him and his buddies were saying, Fox, you gotta do this. And that was why he ended up doing Django, is he was talked into it by the people he sent it to. Like his buddies that he sent it to were like, Fox, you're the only one who could do this.
That's interesting. Yeah, he I have seen him give some really great performances. And this was one where I think he like absolutely hits the mark. But that's not a criticism. That's just the recognition that um, most times you see a white guy doing that role where he's not supposed to be anything special but the main character. Um, and so
Yeah.
just yeah, so but it's interesting, like like that's Leo is like he's delivering a very hard character actor, but I do appreciate the fact that Jamie Foxx is delivering the likable main character that you need him to be
Right.
in the face of everything. Like he could have played like a bitter slave, who is hardened against this guy, but immediately you
Right.
see
Yeah. Fuck you, white man.
yeah,
You know.
exactly. Or even if he was just delivering the exact same lines, he still like seems to have that attitude, and he doesn't. Like the jokes work between him and Christoph Waltz, because of that dynamic, because he understands the character. Um, there is some great shots too, like him just stepping up as a badass in that blue suit when he blows those guys away in the first thing, where we're like, yes,
Man.
this is my guy.
Yeah. Like I said,
I root for him.
like when he whips the piss out of the dude who whipped his wife,
Yeah.
and then shoots him, and then he goes, "I like how you die, boy."
Had like how you did
Dude,
because
what a great
yeah,
fucking resolution
because it was a response to
to
the thing that he
to a
did.
flashback. Like, man,
Yeah, fun flashback. Um,
absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, altogether, great movie. It recognized as definitely one of his highest ranked movies, along with Inglourious Basterds. I would definitely put it up there, and I think in this one, because of how solid it is, that it will outrank Pulp Fiction. That would be my guess, is that this one in particular will do that. Because I think more people are going to keep falling in love with it as time goes
Yeah,
on. I don't think
absolutely.
it's going to age badly at all.
A
Uh,
lot of a lot of Tarantino movies are cult classics, and they just have to kind of come into their age, into their time.
well, his early ones, especially, like there's certain
Yeah,
particular tastes,
absolutely.
like you might like some more than others. But this one I feel is like it's a movie for everybody. That
Yeah,
and stands alone as it's not just a Tarantino movie. It's definitely one of these that it is it's just a film in its own right and should be recognized as just being a quality film without necessarily even being tied to the director to make you
yeah.
want to watch it. So um, final thoughts on Django?
Um, Django Unchained for me is one of the better movies overall to come out of the 2010s.
Yeah,
Like you
see
said,
that's the thing. Yeah, it's
because of the
not just a
message.
Tarantino movie, but a great film of the 2010s.
Yeah, right, right, and it's like I said, because of the message it brings. Um, it's positive. It shows a different light on because like you had like different shit around that time, like 12 Years a Slave and things like that, where it shows a slave, or like it shows a slave in peril.
Right.
This movie shows a slave who decides to take control,
There you
and
go. Yeah, and that's what I like about it.
it's
That's
a
why I think it's
beautiful
not an
narrative.
exploitation film, but
You're right,
it's
and it's a
empowering.
beautiful narrative.
Yeah.
And like I said, not only that, it's a beautiful narrative about love and about commitment and about sacrifice.
Right. That's a really good point. Like one of the big jokes
Yeah,
about
like
black community is that black guys don't stick
when,
around.
when you look past what Django is on the surface, like I said, it's a commentary about what it means to be committed to a person and what love is. Like it's how much would you sacrifice for the love of your life is the ultimate film of that movie for me personally.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously,
Just
right? Like
universally.
it's a love story. Like how cool
Right.
is that in a Western and it actually like pays off? I was definitely very afraid many times that she was going to get killed just because one her acting
Right.
that kind of made me
Right.
believe that they're like,
Because
oh,
like I said, she
she's a
kind of
threat.
played like the baby bird type of, and that kind of wraps back around to why we don't agree with Carrie Hilson, but
Yeah.
we should move on from this.
All right. So we ended with the only flaw, of course, with Django Unchained. And we go into the Hateful Eight. Now, again, I think I mentioned I wasn't gonna watch The Hateful Eight initially because I'd seen part of it before and I just thought it was boring. But when I watched
Yeah,
it this time, I couldn't understand why I even thought that to begin with. Definitely
it's
the same shots, but like the opening shot of like just the thing approach the stagecoach approaching the cross, the stone cross, is an intriguing
Mhm.
shot,
Right,
cinematically speaking. And then
because it foreshadows the theme of death.
Yeah, and then
You know what
also
I mean?
it wraps up what the twist is in the fourth story, because
Yeah,
that's them coming in, but then you think it's actually Kurt Russell, and it immediately jumps into the action too, right? Kurt Russell is riding with this woman who is his bounty, and he's known as a guy who doesn't kill his bounty, even though they can be collected
yeah, he
alive or
let them
dead,
hang.
because he likes to beat them up on the way back. So they
Hmm.
really know, you know,
And and I don't know if you remember, in the first episode when you said you didn't watch The Hateful Eight, I
right.
said you had missed one of the best bits of slapstick comedy that Tarantino had ever done,
Is it when he punches
and
her and they fly out the stagecoach together
because they're shackled,
because they're
yes,
handcuffed together? Oh my God.
yes,
Well, so
she
I
like
thought that's what it
she
was,
Kurt
and just
Russell
that
looks
continued bit.
over. Well, no, it's like Sam Jackson punches her, and then Kurt Russell looks at Sam Jackson like, "What have you done?" Before he flies out of the fucking side of the stagecoach, and it's just such a good shot. It's just one of the better humor-filled moments that Tarantino has ever written. Because man, that's just like I said, just to go back, just such a great bit of
It's
slapstick comedy.
so funny. Yeah, this is again, right, the theme or continuing argument that Tarantino movies are actually all comedies. It's
Right.
just that yeah. Maybe he thinks that life itself is a comedy, and so that's why he laughs when it's so ridiculous. Because that punch came on the heels of them talking about the Lincoln letter, which is
Yes.
it turns out to be a very, very important thing. Actually, it's the final moments
The
of
Lincoln Letter
the
is
Hateful
a
Eight.
very prominent theme in that movie.
Yeah,
So the fact that it's introduced within the first scene, it's one of the things that keeps you enthralled throughout the entire thing because people
for one,
mention
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, like Walton Goggins mentions it. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're the N word that had the correspondence with the president. You're an
Yeah, so
important N
so
word." Like
Goggins brings it up later. Yeah, exactly. And then we
yeah.
find out that spoilers, it's fake. And
Hmm.
Samuel L. Jackson owns up to it. And I want to call this out specifically in light of the conversation that we just had with Django. Because do you remember Sam's reason or that character's reason for having the Lincoln letter?
It was to get over on white folks.
Well, it was so that they
He says
trusted
it.
him and that
Yeah, and he says it. Yeah,
he
he
needed
he
some way for
says that
them to
it's like the
trust him.
only reason I made this is to make white people trust me.
Uh-huh.
Like he says it.
And then he says, "It got me on the stagecoach, didn't it?" Uh,
Right.
and you'd be like, "Oh, dude, that's interesting." So he had to find a way to survive because he has a target on his back still, apparently. Um,
Right. For
because
being someone who ran off
uh,
on
well,
on the Northern Army.
he had well, he got put in jail and escaped. Um, but he killed a bunch of people on the way out. I think if I remember the story correctly. There
I
is
believe that's what it
as
was.
many
Yeah.
Tarantino stories. There's a lot of little stories in this story. Um,
Right.
this is the movie that I said is the best thriller that I've ever seen. So a classic thriller is where you take a bunch of people from different places and situations and put them in one location that they can't escape from. And it's generally a murder mystery that happens. Agatha Christie was known for doing this type of thriller. There's a lot of they generally come from stage performances because it's easier to have just one set that you can dress really well instead of changing a bunch of sets.
Yeah.
Um, so he does that. He wrote a Western thriller, which is something that I never really expected from Tarantino to be able to do, that want to do, first of all, and then secondly, be able to pull off if I thought he was ever going to do something like that. Um,
See, and as a Tarantino fan, I expected the Hateful Eight to be much more of a high action
Same.
violent,
Right. Same.
type of thing, but it's really very much a slow burn.
Yeah. And
We have
so,
to pay attention to what people say to each other
yeah,
and
the
what
hallmark
kind of
of a thriller.
relationships people have,
Yep.
and it's a really, it's a beautiful piece of fiction.
Yeah.
I will
And that's what I'm
say,
saying. Like, I think he's,
The Hateful Eight is almost Tarantino's magnum opus.
um,
It's
yeah,
because it's one of the
listen,
greatest films that I've seen that takes six people in one setting and creates that type of tension and drama.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
exactly. Like it's just so the big question is okay. So they believe that, and the guy who's the bounty hunter believes that the woman who is Jennifer Jason Leigh, who does a fantastic job. I love her so much, and I was really glad to see that
wondrous
she's
actress. She did
uh
great.
and a fantastic role. The exact opposite of the actress in Django Unchained. She just sells this character so good because she's a very seasoned actress. She's done very many roles. But she does. She's there. So the bounty hunter believes that he's being set up that somebody is there to save her, rescue her. And then that's what the big mystery is. So it's a whodunit in a very interesting way because we know that she's the murderer, which is generally what the point of a mystery like that is, like a thriller like that is. And she's killed a lot of people, but now we're trying to figure out what the murderer has planned now. And so Tarantino took a very interesting old trope and then extended it further and then used it. So you said this is, in the ranks of your favorite Tarantino films, but I would say the best Tarantino films are actually everything from Inglourious Basterds on, and all for different
Yeah,
reasons.
I
He
would
he
consider this,
succeeded at
The Hateful
making,
Eight, one of his best films as far as writing and pacing and how everything went.
yeah, character
Um,
development, man. Yeah, it's amazing. He just proves that he's very capable of character development. And he understands. This is what I love about later Tarantino is he understands how people work. Um,
mhm.
and it shows because it's all dialogue in the Hateful Eight. They walk to one location. It's camera angles. It's stories from different points of view, which he was doing in Pulp Fiction, right? You remember that's what you said you love about Pulp Fiction. Um, and this is what he's doing in the Hateful Eight, but it's not this weird narrative that's jumping all over the place. It like makes sense as
It's
it
it's
moves
it, it's
from one
it's
place
all
to another.
chronological, and you're
Yeah.
understanding it. You're understanding it from a third person point of view because you have a narrator where it's like, oh, someone poisoned the coffee.
Well, so that's
It's
interesting.
like
So he
you have
only
a
uses
narrator
the narrator a couple of
explaining things
times.
to you,
Yeah.
right? Which
Um,
you do experience the narrator after what I would consider one of the most graphic scenes in the movie, and
Yeah, so there's
I
one
feel
thing.
like
There's
I
one
feel like
narration
we
that
would be
happens
remiss.
early, and then he joins at the end. Yeah.
I feel like it would be. I feel like we would be both remiss if we did not talk about the Sam Jackson scene.
Okay. Yeah. Let's
Yeah, where
talk
like
about
he
that.
narrates the whole
Yeah.
thing.
How
Yeah, where like he narrates the
that's true.
whole
Yeah,
thing
that's
to
true.
the Confederate general to get a rise out of him.
Yep.
So he reaches for his gun. It's like I'm not gonna say it's not necessary because in order to drive the plot forward, yeah, you're gonna try and get a rise out of this general to get one last man out of here. You know, but to do it in such a way that it's sexual, Quentin.
It is an interesting choice for him to have done that.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
also the question of whether or not it's true was what I was going to ask you. Whether you thought
Also,
that,
yes, absolutely, yeah. Because Sam Jackson could be telling complete lies
and see
to the
that's the
general.
thing.
We
Like I
don't
think
know if it's true, and that's part of what leads to the allure of the story. It's like he could just be saying this to him just to get him to pick up his revolver.
and yeah, exactly.
Like we don't know how true any of this is because no one in this story is a reliable narrator. We're just there
Exactly.
as a third person perspective watching everything happen.
And that you are hitting on exactly why I think it's just a fantastic movie because you have the Hateful Eight, right? So another classic style thriller, right, is the 12 Angry Men, right? A jury's locked in a room. They have to debate the murder until they figure it out, right? Tensions flare. but they can't get out the room. That's the type of thriller. And so he did the Hateful Eight. So these 8 people who are absolutely loathsome, and put them all together and see how they behave. Um, and so it's fantastic character work, great plot working. And so it's so great. It's bounty hunters coming together with a bounty in tow, um, a driver, the soon to be sheriff who has a shady past, so
Yep.
a guy who claims to be the new hangman, a guy who claims to be obviously who is the general, and there's a tension between the North and the South, and
It's another great actor too. Is that Englishman?
yeah, it's Tim Roth.
Like you said, who claims to be the hangman? I don't know his name, but
Yeah, it's
shout out
Tim
to
Roth.
that guy.
It's Tim Roth.
Tim Rod, yeah, shout out to that guy. What a fantastic performance that he put on in the Hateful Eight.
Tim Roth, the guy who's the bellhop in that Coke monologue I sent you.
Oh yeah, yeah, you.
Tim Roth from
Yeah, you're right.
from the it's a dude. He's in Reservoir Dogs, and he's the one who delivers the Honey Bunny monologue at the beginning of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like just to see him play that character, he is fantastic. Yeah, Tim Roth is. I mean, he's so
yeah, Tim Roth
fantastic. He
is
goes
great.
unnoticed. Like
Yeah,
he's just doing his job like he should be, um, as an actor, and so you're like, yep, that guy's doing it. Um,
Tim
yeah,
Roth needs more recognition, man.
he's definitely gotten it as far as his career goes. At one point, we will do a Tim Roth deep dive, but probably not directly after this because a lot of them are in this. But just to
Right.
like call out his different roles in different movies, because yeah, if you like see what he's
And just
done
to
for a
say,
long time.
another one I'd like to do, Skip, and it's complete non sequitur, but another one I'd like to do is Alan Tudyk.
That's on my list also, because of we were talking about it last week, I believe. I wanna take a look at Alan Tudyk also because he's really great. I
What
mean,
a
just
great voice actor
yeah,
is
he's just
Alan Tudyk.
yeah, he just continues to
That's
show
that's
up and
one of the
continues
reasons
to
I
do
like
great.
Alan Tudyk is what a great voice actor.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, what a great actor in general. But I mean, he's done some voice parts that have been fucking iconic.
and unfortunately, never in a Tarantino movie yet. So hopefully, maybe Tarantino's last movie will be about Alan Tudyk. Um,
Hopefully,
that that's what
but
I would
anyway,
hope.
as we progress,
We should definitely get him. Um, as always, he makes some interesting choices with music. We didn't call that so much in Django, but there's great choices all over, music choices all over Django, and same with this one.
there were some custom songs that were made for Django. The Rick Ross song,
Really?
100 Black Coffins, yes, was
Oh,
specifically made after he has the thing with Walton Goggins. As a matter of fact, where he's like, "Oh, you're one lucky nit," and he's like, "I'm gonna go walk in the moonlight with you," and he's like, "You
yeah,
better call your boss, white boy." Like that. After that whole interaction, there's a Rick Ross song that plays, and it's called "100 Black Coffins." And
yeah.
"100 Black Coffins," I'm pretty sure was specifically written for Django Unchained.
That's awesome. It is a great song. I commented on it when we were there. Um,
Yeah.
let's see if I'm trying to. I'm just going through my notes now to see if there's anything that we have missed. Um, Bruce Dern, of course, is the general. Um, who is in the chair who gets tricked into shooting, not tricked, but goaded into shooting, um, or to reach for the gun so that Samuel is actually going to shoot him. Bruce Stern shows up in a lot of Tarantino's movies, so it's cool that he found him another role to
Yep.
keep him employed. Um,
Also, Don Johnson in that movie was fantastic.
Don Johnson,
Yes, Don Johnson was in that movie as Big Daddy.
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy. Yeah, that was Don Johnson. When when they go to kill the Brittle brothers at the first plantation,
You're talking about
when they
Django
meet the
Unchained
plant,
now instead of
yes,
the Hateful Eight. Yeah, so okay, gotcha.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I apologize,
Yeah, all right,
but
that's all right. I
yeah,
was confused. Yeah, I didn't remember Don Johnson being part of that cast. That's all right. Okay, so okay, gotcha. So he was in that movie.
yes, Don Johnson was Big Daddy. So shout out to Don Johnson. But I apologize. The Hateful Eight. Um,
Tim
I
Roth
will say
has
like
been with Tarantino for a really long time. You know, obviously working with him. and he does some really good Tarantino monologues. One of the ones that he delivers, which kind of sums up the theme of the Hateful Eight, is this. Um, he's having a drink with Kurt Russell and Jennifer Jason Leigh at the bar. He says that dispassion is the very essence of justice, because justice delivered without dispassion always runs the risk of not being justice. Um, right,
Damn.
right, and the movie ends with them
Profound.
hanging her and laughing wildly.
That's profound.
Right? So again, like you want to
Yeah.
say like Tarantino's just like, he's just making like gory action movies. But then he wrote that dialogue, and also that's how the movie concludes. With
Right.
them hanging her and then reading the Lincoln letter. Um, which is all about how Lincoln loves this black guy and they have a really good friendship.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's just fantastic.
I mean,
Being
man, what a role played by everyone in the movie. There was one thing I heard when I think it's Kurt Russell comes and smashes the guitar.
Yeah,
That
because she taunts him with a song about how she's about to get free
right. So she
because someone
plays the
just poisoned
song.
the coffee. Yeah.
So she plays the song, and Kurt Russell actually smashes an antique guitar.
Ooh, is that the shot?
Yes. So that's her genuine reaction to Kurt Russell smashing like an antique guitar.
Whose guitar was it?
I don't know. I think it might have belonged to like a historic association or something before Quentin
Like
Tarantino rented it.
the cabin that
But
he rented from you.
Kurt Russell actually smashed that fucker.
Oh man.
And that's one of the reasons her reaction is so genuine, like like
Oh my god.
yeah,
Right, like she's like,
it's actually really neat.
you animal. Oh, oh my god. There's some good moments in there too where the music's actually more period, where someone's quietly playing the piano during the background of the scene. It's
Right.
right before Samuel L. Jackson goads um, the Bruce Dern's character. Um, is they're sitting down together, and then someone's like slowly playing and like kind of plunking out Silent Night. Senor Bob is the one who's doing it.
Yeah, Senior Bob is out there plucking Silent Night. That's one
So
of the things. That's one of the things that I like to admire about Tarantino
yeah,
is his choice of music, and that's another thing I actually want to mention about that movie is that being a White Stripes fan,
right.
there was a White Stripes song that was
It was.
included in
I was
that
gonna call
movie,
that out too.
Apple Blossom. Yeah, so like that being within like the first 20 minutes of the movie. I was, like I said, as a White Stripes man, I was like, all right, Tarantino might be cooking.
Well, yeah, it's just he's always making really interesting choices, which always adds to the scene. I don't know if anyone but him can get away with it, because I don't think it's something you can imitate. I think it's something that he's just sort of like instinctually doing. But that's one example. The Silent Night's another example where it's just like appropriately using music. And we talked about a bunch of Kill Bill too, just like how he's appropriately using music. So
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, so I think that's cool that he did it again and in a very different way. So
Yeah, like the
art,
Silent Night thing just being choppily played by the actor was a fucking a stunning addition to like that build up. Because like all the while he's playing Silent Night, they're sitting there questioning each other.
yeah, he's having some conversation about how they have respect for each other. I think
Right,
because they're both soldiers or something.
right. And then directly after that is what comes of, like I said, which I think is probably one of the most gratuitously Tarantino scenes in the movie is when Sam Jackson describes walking the general's son through the snow naked,
Yeah,
and then he makes him suck his, and then he shoots him.
it definitely that it disturbed you quite a bit.
Right. It's
Witnessing
like
it
it's
again. Yeah.
definitely a scene in there where it's like amongst all that serenity and all this, like brotherhood that we seem to have. Oh, I caught your son, and I made him blame me until he couldn't, and then I shot him.
It's a nice turnabout. I believe personally that that's how scenes should work. Is they should seem to be going in one direction and then do an about face and then go a different direction. And so yeah, I feel like that is some fantastic writing.
I mean, yeah, but like did it need
Why
to
did
be
it
as
have to be
graphic as it
sexual
was?
Tarantino?
Right. It's like, did it have to be? Do you have to make him suck Sam L's, or
I
was that
mean,
just?
obviously. I really do think I don't believe that that actually happened. I
My
believe
lawyer,
that it is
my
playing
lawyer
into
has advised me not to answer further.
the. I think that it's playing into the idea for the whole movie that you can't trust any of these people, and the way that you
Right.
can use lies, to your advantage and disadvantage. And so he's using lies. I think we're not supposed to believe that story, and that he's using lies to get this guy. And we're the real like for me, the horror was not on the, but the fact that a person's getting manipulated in that way by a
Right.
story that is clearly not true and specifically designed to taunt him. Um, just my opinion, it's not spelled out, so maybe maybe he did get the BJ out in the. I wish I could find something with
I mean, it makes sense though,
that would be
because
a
like,
fun joke, but
is anyone established as a reliable narrator throughout that
no,
entire story? You know what
that's
I
the whole
mean?
thing.
So
Like
it's like, yeah.
the sheriff is
So it's like,
suspected of not being a
how much you
sheriff. The
believe
hitman's
that
suspected.
depends on how much you're invested in the story.
Yeah, like he's like questioning Bob out in the stable. Um, like no,
Right.
like everybody's suspect. That's what Kurt Russell says too. Is like he starts taking everyone's guns, because everybody's suspect. So yeah, I think that that's kind of like it's a running theme of it is that none of them are supposed to be able to be trusted. They're the Hateful Eight, of course.
Right.
Even the conclusion, right? She says that, I have all these men, they're coming as soon as sun comes up, blah, blah, blah. But like we're not really supposed to believe her, and ultimately he doesn't either. Goggins doesn't either. Um, because of the fact that she's a known liar, just like all the rest of them are no liars.
Right.
So yeah, I think that that's more on key, and that he was especially designing a story to taunt an old man, so he could get him out the picture. All right.
I mean, definitely a crazy inclusion though.
Yeah, yeah, that's that.
I mean, I guess because they couldn't add feet in that movie, he was
It was
like,
interesting. Yeah, this is the one movie without anybody's feet in it.
yeah.
Um,
So like, I got to do with them.
yeah, so yeah, exactly. So Tarantino's gonna get weird in another way, I guess. Yeah. And then he took, but like I recognized like how that monologue, right, is actually a Tarantino Coke monologue, but delivered through Samuel L. Jackson. So it's just like he handles it really well. Like again, I had some criticisms about those monologues before, but they are iconic. And he does have some
Yeah.
in all of them, and in most of them, he has some interesting thoughts.
Yeah. The Coke monologues, man. You know. I'm just gonna make the joke and just be like, you gotta have a higher brain to obtain the knowledge from these.
Yeah, exactly. You have to be high like they is, in order to do that. So
You have to be on his order of knowledge, bro. In parentheses, you have to do like an 8 ball, at least.
I love the twist that Tatum Channing's in the floorboards.
That was awesome. Yeah, like
Where it's been the
also the
whole
Channing
time.
Tatum cameo in that movie really took me by surprise, but he did it well. That was
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
time I
exactly.
saw Channing Tatum in a Tarantino movie, and I feel like he played his role pretty well. I feel like he did good. and I feel like that proves Channing Tatum's chops, I guess,
Yeah,
as
he may have been underrated
being
before, right?
able to. I mean, kind of, like he had done like Magic Mike and shit. Like he was a man who was appreciated for his body.
Right.
Like he had done like 21 Jump Street and shit. Like, oh yeah, 6-pack abs. But you know what? He come in and he fucking acted
Yeah.
with
And
this
also,
one.
yeah, held his own
And
with the rest of those guys in that cast. He doesn't seem to stand out.
right,
Yeah.
like he was a believable character amongst the cast of, fucking, Michael Madsen,
Right.
Sam
Tim Roth,
Jackson,
Sam Jackson. Yeah.
Kurt
Kurt Russell,
Russell.
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Yeah, like he's in here with a bunch of really seasoned actors, and he had to hold his own, and I feel like he did
We
good.
both left off the list. He's Walton Goggins.
Yeah, Walton Goggins. No, I mean, and don't
No,
let
we
me
left it. We
sleep on
both left
Walton
him off the
Goggins
list.
either. Oh, come on.
He does.
I mean, let's
but
talk about Walton Goggins
I'm
for a
just
minute.
calling out the fact that it did happen. I think subconsciously we're like, yeah, but can he continue to do it? He's done a couple of good performances. Doing the thing that he was supposed to. Maybe he's actually a racist. So that's why those performances are so good. We don't have enough
No, I
credibility
don't
with
think,
him as an actor.
personally, I don't think Walton Goggins wants to hurt anybody. I just think
You're
he's a
probably
good actor.
right. You're probably right. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that we don't know. Like the other actors who are in this
Right?
movie, we do know them from a lot of time being in Celebrity Light and from a bunch of
I
different
mean, dude,
roles.
if Walton, if you want to come talk to us, bro.
You want to set the record straight, Walton? We're here to
Yeah,
discuss.
come and talk to us, man. I'd
Yeah,
love to hear from you,
come on a
Walton.
flicking with Skip. Uh, we'll go over a filmography you're interested in.
Absolutely. I like Walton Goggins. I feel like he's a good actor. I feel like he's done well with the money that he's earned. He currently has and this is not sponsored by the way, but he currently has a brand of sunglasses. I think it's called Goggins goggles.
Yeah,
Yeah, so he's doing things with the money he earns, and he's being smart about it. He's not out here being sketchy. So
that's fair. I
I
mean,
like
we have no
Walton Goggins.
allegations so
Yeah,
far, right?
personally, I like Walton Goggins. He's okay in my book for right now.
All right, fair. Um, yeah, just the acting chops. Tatum Channing does measure up to that in that, and then we get the nice backstory of how they all got there, and then we get clued in. So again, this is a really nice Tarantino move that I don't think as a younger Tarantino would have done. But he makes sure that we know the
No,
story so that we can feel as
Tarantino
covered.
Tarantino would have never done this film at 20. He
Yeah,
needed
there's
to
definitely.
develop. He needed to develop as an artist, as a writer, and as a director to make the Hateful Eight for sure.
Yeah, I don't see that about all the movies in the final leg of his career. I don't say final, but just up to the present. He is talking about he's going to make maybe one last film. It's hard to believe because he seems to be very impassioned about it. But I can see with these ones, it almost becomes like, what's the point? Um, because he can clearly do it. He's achieving exactly what he wants to. And I think for Tarantino, sometimes it's the challenge, and he might be running out of challenges in his own mind. Again, speculation there.
I mean, that makes sense. Of course, Quentin, if you want to come talk to us about it, we're here, baby.
Again, I mean, same with the last one. I would love
I'll,
to talk to Tarantino.
another shameless plug for the Cox and Space podcast. And dude, if anyone creative wants to come talk to us, come and let us know. We'll have you, and we'll talk to you.
Oh, there's I wanted to show you a cool acting moment, but you won't be able to see it. So um, there's it,
What moment are you referring to?
no, it's you'd have to see it. I'd be describing it in vain, and I
Let me
realize that.
see.
So, but there
Try and
is
watch the stream, but there ain't nothing there.
oh no, yeah, you can't. I think I stopped streaming, and it shouldn't be streaming. Oh geez, why is it doing that? Still, sorry. But yeah, so And actually, it looks like in my notes I didn't actually upload the video either, so it's no point. There just this one thing. So of course, when Tatum Channing reveals himself, he's under the floorboards, and so he shoots Samuel L. Jackson in the crotch.
Just
And
right the
yeah, but he calls him the bushwhacking sack shooter. Like, come out, you bushwhacking sack shooter. And like, just like, it's so funny because it is the first time in a Tarantino movie where I feel like he's actually getting like the swearing right for the era. And
yeah,
Samuel L. Jackson, it's basically like the motherfucker sort of thing that he says, but he's doing it right for the era. Um,
right.
so it's just so funny. Like again, so I think he's hit his thing. Like he's making great movies at this point. They're undeniably good, and not because they're Tarantino movies, but because they have fully fleshed out characters that live in their world.
Right.
Um,
That was one of the things I liked about the Hateful Eight is that he had a lot of different characters in there, but he made the point to develop them all before the drama takes place. And that's part of, for me, what gives that movie credibility in Tarantino's repertoire. Is
yeah,
because
100%.
yeah, he made the point to develop every single character. You know who every character is by the time you get to the saloon where they're spending the rest of the movie. You
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
know what's going on. One thing I will say, I feel like Michael Madsen was bribed of being able to character act more in that movie.
You think he was bribed?
I feel like he was not bribed, but like kind
Robbed?
of robbed. Yeah, that would be the word.
Huh. Do you think?
He was,
What do you think
I
would
feel
have?
like Michael Madsen's character in that movie could have been a lot more well developed,
Yeah.
but they probably cut like a 15 or 20-minute scene describing to us who Michael Madsen was before they just fucking shot him. You know?
Maybe so. Maybe so. I think Michael Madsen isn't a character actor. Last week we agreed he's kind of like he shows up and he is the person you want him to be and expect him to be. Um,
Right.
right. And so that's I felt like he did that again in this movie. He was what a thug is expected to be as a cowboy. And that's pretty cool because I mean it's an archetype that's existed for a
I
really
feel like
long
he
time.
deserved more of a story, I guess, in the movie.
You mean
Like
besides just like thug
everyone,
number two?
like everyone else, kind of had a reason for what brought him there, and Michael Madsen's character was just like there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he may have been set up as a red herring, although I hadn't thought about it before now. So this is just kind of off the cuff, like because you do suspect that she's working with somebody, and so he
Right.
might be that he's set up. He's being so suspicious that you suspect that it's him, and
Right.
not the people that it is. Everybody, it's everybody. Sorry,
Right.
spoilers. It's what makes it a great movie. It turns out that everybody, it's not one person, it's all of them.
Everyone is against each other.
And well, they're all there to help her. So there's no good people. You can't trust any of them, and never could, except for the sheriff who was very racist, and we don't. And he's from like a gang, and so he doesn't have a good history either. So
Walton Goggins.
yeah, Walter Goggins. So it
I
just
mean, and once again, shout out to Walton Goggins for just giving an excellent performance in The Hateful Eight.
it is a good, yeah, I'll give you that. It is a really good performance.
How fantastic was Walton Goggins? How fantastic was Kurt Russell? Like
They all deliver definitely.
every
Like you're saying,
actor I
Tim
think
Channing.
that he casted for that film was fantastic. Obi, Bob, everybody was wondrous.
Right, yeah. Sweet George or Sweet Dave, who we meet in chapter 4.
Yes, Tweet Dave and I don't remember what the lady
Minnie or Minnie, yeah.
Minnie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Minnie's
then also,
because
yeah,
it was Minnie's haberdashery.
yeah, exactly.
Which a haberdashery means that she should serve clothes. There's no clothes anywhere,
There's no,
motherfucker Quentin.
there's no what?
A haberdashery means that like you give people clothes. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
interesting. Um,
So the fact that there's no clothes in Minnie's haberdashery already is kind of a it's kind of a clue to like something sketchy is going on here. You know?
well, there wasn't them when she was there either.
Yeah, I mean like Minnie was never there.
No, she is. We see her in scene 4. Or yeah, in chapter 4. There's a whole when they come in, they meet her and we see that they execute everybody.
Right, but there's never any clothes
Yeah,
in Minnie's haberdashery.
that's but we're just gonna chase this in a circle. But there, if it was a suspicious thing that happened, and then it wasn't there when Minnie was there, then how is it suspicious?
I'm just saying that it's a mistake that Quentin Tarantino made,
Oh,
saying that
maybe
it's
so.
Minnie's haberdashery, and a haberdashery is supposed to serve clothes and not be a general store like Minnie's was. Because you know how like it's like throughout this film they refer to it as Minnie's haberdashery.
That's true. Yeah,
There
and you're right. I'm looking
there's
up at it
never
right now.
any
Okay, gotcha.
clothes.
I
There's
thought that
never
it was a
any
general
clothes
store,
in
but I see
Minnie's haberdashery.
that they sell clothing and accessories. Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's a general store. It's not a haberdashery. It's a general store.
Well, maybe she just thought it sounded nice.
I mean, maybe it's a plot point.
But yeah, okay. I mean, we don't have to get hung up on this, but like, I'm just saying, if it was a plot point, where is the suspicion? Is Minnie actually not who she said she is either, and so she doesn't have a haberdashery? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
But what? How?
Minnie
Why are we suspicious of Minnie?
Minnie Minnie misclassifies because it's an outpost for bounty hunters. That's why Kurt Russell wants to stop there. It's an outpost for bounty hunters. It's not supposed to be anything. It's just a place for you to stay while you bring your bounties to town. And Sam
So,
Jackson knows this too because he's a bounty hunter and he's been to Benny's
so you're saying
and
that
he
she
knows that
advertises that she's a haberdashery to keep people away, except for the bounty hunters?
exactly because it's not a haberdashery at all. A
Okay,
haberdashery is a place for clothes. She doesn't have any clothes in her haberdashery.
which you have pointed out, yeah. Um, and that's an interesting theory. I haven't think about that more. That's all I can say about that is that uh, it is misused, and I think that's interesting, and I didn't notice that at all.
It is
Um,
misused.
do you have any final thoughts on the Hateful Eight? We are actually over our time by about 15 minutes already, and we still have one more film to get through.
Oh my
Actually,
god.
I kind of feel like we should do that one as its own episode. Maybe do it next week. How do you feel about that?
That sounds good. We'll just go Once Upon a Time as its own episode.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I feel like does have enough content to actually to do a whole episode on, and it might only be like a 90-minute episode. But
Sorry,
um,
guys.
yeah, but I think that there is a lot to talk about it. I feel like it is Tarantino's crowning achievement. That if he did stop making films today, that it wouldn't be he would have completed everything that he could possibly do. And
Yeah.
that might sound like it's a little bit like more, but no, I feel like yeah, Tarantino has completed his work um, as a filmmaker. So he can do more if he wants to, of course, and that he should. I'm sure he'll continue to do great work. But that, yeah, he's achieved it. So yeah, let's hold it up. Yeah, I think it's worth spending a whole amount of time to talk about it. These ones in themselves are so good to focus on. Um, because they are, all of them are great period pieces in this era. We have a war movie and then two westerns from him, and just he really just owns the styles and owns the genres in both of them. He makes really great characters, and continues to develop those characters. Much better work. I mean, he was doing great writing as a young actor, but when he's gotten to this era, I believe he's really understood who characters are. He's matured as a person and as a writer. It's really encouraging to see from someone who I thought was, again, just a gory action guy. Do you have any final thoughts on Tarantino, this era of Tarantino's work?
Um, I'll say that Kill Bill is what got me into Tarantino's work.
Okay.
So I ended up getting invested in Tarantino as a director in probably the late 2000s. So just to see what he's done since then has shown his growth, not only as a director but as an artist. And to see what he's done as far as representation in films,
Yeah. 100%.
has been second to none. I mean,
And I would like to pull that contrast: Django versus Jackie Brown. Uh, Jackie Brown is about a black woman who sticks it to the man, like beats the guy who was exploiting her, takes all his
right,
money, uses white people to her advantage, which is fine. It's a passable movie, but doesn't empower. And Django empowers, and I think that's really cool.
right,
Again, because he's a white man who doesn't have to do that. Like, he doesn't have to try to
right.
help a group who are unempowered. He doesn't have to recognize their struggle. And so, like, I applaud him for doing that in that movie. And then continue to do
Yeah,
that in the Hateful Eight, even though it's not the focus of that movie.
right, absolutely. And like I said, just like like the representation in his movies, as far as just like like actors like Sam Jackson.
Yeah, I'm
As
glad
much as
he's
we don't
continuing to
like
give him work.
her,
Yeah.
as much as we don't like her, Carrie Hilson.
Yeah,
That's one of the only
again,
movies I've seen Carrie Hilson in the
but
last
hang
like
on,
10 years.
let's also talk about when he makes Django, for instance. He's hiring a lot of black actors. Like, I mean, so many shots of just black faces, which means it's
Right.
not like those are actual slaves that he hired. You know what I mean? Like, those are all people that he gave jobs for the time that they were shooting. He got them costumes, took care of all that.
Well,
Uh,
Jesus, Skipper, that's a fucked up way to think about it.
no, but that's what I mean. Like, it's not like, you just go to a location and find the people, right? Like, those are all actors. Every single one of the slaves that you see in all those shots are actors. And
Right.
so that's where, like, representation also matters. That's what people say about even the problematic, like, Tyler Perry. Like, it's just that he's giving work to people who aren't getting work, because it's less common to cast black people. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
another thing I feel like we can do an entire episode about it, just Tyler Perry.
Yeah, I'd rather not actually talk about any Tyler Perry films
For
at
better or
all.
for worse, we could do a
Um,
Tyler Perry episode.
we should just wrap this episode up so that we don't get in trouble, because he will sue. So
No.
I'm not down to getting sued. I don't think I've said anything that should get me sued. So, Tyler, if you're hearing this, I am sorry. I was trying not to say anything. Let me just say this so we can get out of trouble. This is a Cox and Space podcast. You're here flicking with Skip. I am Skip Marazzi, one of the writers and producers for Cox and Space. Here with Logan Giftard, another writer and producer for Cox and Space. And we're
Yeah,
working on
absolutely.
the animation cells for our upcoming pitch. If you're interested in joining the crew, you can do that by going to coxinspace.com. That's coxinspace.com. Get connected with our Discord. Come hang out with us. You can get connected with our Patreon and help support us, or you can get connected with our Facebook and get on the show and come talk to us. So we are really excited that you've been here with us through this to listen to Tarantino. We are going to pull part 3, which is very un-Tarantino, but we're going to do it anyway. So tune in next week.
Tarantino Part 3.
Part 3.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So we'll see you all then. All right. Bye.